Bueno, Cynthia, ready? ¿Lista?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Well, let's get started. Cynthia R. Lopez. What's your middle name, by the way?
Raquel.
Raquel.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for accepting invite. I'm so excited about today. I did a lot of research on you, and it was very fun because your Instagram, I went back even years. I'm like, wait a second, I know this person, and this person actually had them on the podcast. And I'm like, oh my God. You know when they say El Paso is really small and everybody knows everyone?
Mm-hmm.
It is true.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I was actually like, when you messaged me, I was like, what? Nice. And then, cause you have like I mean, of course it's like a lot of people I know. So I'm like, everyone who's anyone. But when I saw it, I was like, I know that person. I know that person. I was like, yeah, I'd love to be here. So thank you for having me.
No, of course. And then when you replied, hey, I actually follow you and watch the episodes. And I'm like, I don't know what to respond because I wanted I'm like, that feels really nice. I'm like, okay, that's so cool. But then I think my response was very basic, like, okay, thank you, perfect. And I'm like, oh no, but then I don't want to say, because it's the first time we interact, that, oh my God, you're the best person ever, right? So that's kind of like a challenge for me. But very excited about today. Please give us an intro on who you are and what you do.
Yes. So my name is Cynthia Lopez. I am an attorney, immigration attorney, and I also own Cash Restaurant and Bar, which is right across the street. I do a lot of other stuff too.
Which we're going to talk about most of it, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's get started. Tell us, I know you graduated from Hanks, right?
Yes.
Tell us about your early life.
You did do research.
I talked to your teachers, by the
way. Yes, so I'm from El Paso, went to Hanks.
Born and raised?
Born and raised in El Paso. Mm-hmm. I left to go to college in Chicago. Stayed in Chicago for about 9 years, and then I was done with the weather. And so I moved back to El Paso. When I graduated from law school, I moved back to El Paso and started my own practice. And in a couple days, it'll be my 11th year anniversary of opening my own practice.
Nice. Now, you lived in Chicago for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Was your intention always to come back, or you did say, you know what, I'm moving out and I'm going to stay here forever? Especially Chicago, because it's beautiful, except the weather, of course. But was that your intention?
When I left, I think I just wanted to get out of El Paso.
And not come back.
Well, yeah, I wasn't really thinking of coming back. I think at that point, you're 18, and you're like, I'm going to college and I'm going to see the world. And I really missed my family. After 9 years of being away, missing my family. It's so far away. It wasn't easy to come back and forth too much. So, I think a big part of it was really my family. And every time I would come back, El Paso was growing so much. And I did want to open my own practice, and it was just so much more feasible. Cost of living and stuff down here as compared to Chicago. I love Chicago. But yeah, I was ready to come home.
Nice. And that it's been already, how many years you said?
11.
Mm-hmm. Nice. You don't regret it? Don't want to go back to Chicago eventually to retire, anything like that?
I would love to be able to go back and forth, maybe like have a place there and go back and forth. There's so much to do. I do love Chicago. A piece of me will always be in Chicago, but I miss it. Of course, I miss it. But El Paso's home now.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you still in your early life, as far as what type of person were you? What type of student? I really want to get into that because, you're a lawyer, right? You're an attorney. But then there's, did you always wanted to do that? Or talk to us about that.
No, I didn't. As a student, I was a good kid. I played a lot of sports. So I played basketball and soccer. And so I was always, in high school, mostly sports and working was what I kind of did. So I knew I wanted to get good grades because I wanted to leave El Paso. So the reason I did law school was because I think I'm more of an entrepreneur type of spirit. And so I always knew I wanted to do my own business. And so I felt like law was a really good background for that. And so that's kind of why I decided to do law school. But no, it wasn't always like, this is what I want to do.
Was it after high school, right before high school? Was during high school you said, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Law school, I don't think I decided that I wanted to go into law until I had kind of already graduated college. So I had already graduated college. I got my degree in accounting. And I was kind of just floundering around. I was bartending and working in the industry, and it had already been 6 months. And I was like, you know what am I going to do with my life? And so I think that's when I was like, I'm going to revisit this law thing. So I think that's when I kind of decided to start getting serious about going to law school. But it wasn't really until I think I had already graduated from college.
Was there any pressure from your parents, from your I don't know, your colleagues, or in high school, your friends? Was there any pressure to become a lawyer or to just continue your education, or you just decided that on your own?
Well, my family has always been really big on education. My mom, it's really important to my mom. So I always knew that I was going to go to college. But no, I mean, at that point, I was living in Chicago. I was far from home. I was kind of doing my own thing. So it wasn't really like pressure to go to continue my education. But I think there was pressure like, well, what are you going to do at this point? So, yeah, definitely felt that a little bit. But
why immigration?
So, the reason that I had done when I was in law school, I had done a clinic, immigration legal clinic. And so we actually get to do like a hands-on and work in the immigration clinic in the law school. And I really liked it. And I knew that there was a huge need for it here in El Paso. And so I was kind of looking, when I graduated from law school, I thought at first I wanted to do like estate planning, like wills and trusts and that kind of thing. And I was kind of looking for work in that area. And I actually went to an interview, and a lawyer offered me minimum wage. And this was as a law school graduate. And I was like, I don't even know if I can pay my rent in Chicago for minimum wage, And I was like, if I'm going to work for somebody at minimum wage, I'm going to do my own thing, And so that's when I kind of decided to come back to El Paso. And I had a dear friend who had always worked as an immigration paralegal. And she was like, I'll help you get started. Just set up your own shop. I'll work for you. And so that's kind of what happened. And so I kind of say immigration kind of came to me more than I went to it. It wasn't necessarily my passion until I started doing it.
No, it's now I'm very ignorant when it comes to this. So then, like, when you start law school, it's not like, oh, okay, this is my focus, right? It can be during or it can be after, right after you get your degree, I guess.
Yeah, right. So we just get our legal degree, and then we can go off into whatever field. So you can there's like an LLM, which is like a master's in law, and you can kind of go on and get that. But you really don't have to. I mean, you just get your legal degree and you can practice basically in any area that you want to.
Have you ever had a moment or a time that maybe you wanted to change your I don't know, how you specialized on that? Because as I was prepping, I'm like, oh my God, immigration. Of course, we're in El Paso, right? So we know people, we know situations, stories. And I'm like, that must be really hard dealing with, especially the ones that don't go your way, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, because it's like immigration is tough. One of my colleagues and I are always saying, oh gosh, and then this is our lives, and we'll complain about how hard immigration is and how tough it is, because it really is a lot of times an uphill battle. It's been really difficult. It's like an ebb and flow with how the politics are going, so immigration was really hard under Trump for sure. It's hard when we have like asylum cases, especially because those are really like tough, pull on your heartstrings type of cases, where it's people that are fleeing really bad situations.
And then they tell you their story. And of course, as a human being, you side with them. But then there's the law, which of course there's very few things that you can do. Am I right on that?
Yeah, and I know you're probably going to ask it later about why I started the bar. And honestly, that was one of the reasons. Was immigration is just like really hard, and it can be very disheartening, because in a lot of ways we feel like our hands are tied because we're so within the bounds of the law, and there's only so much we can do with immigration. I can only help so many people. I can only do so much. And so, there's been a lot of times where I'm like, why am I doing immigration? But the wins are big wins, and we try to focus on the wins. When I can even just make someone a citizen or help them get their residency, that feels really good. And so, yeah, there's definitely times where you're like really disheartened. But I don't know if I've ever been at a point where I'm like, I don't want to do immigration anymore. I want to practice something else. I've always, it's like, what's really cool about being a lawyer, I think, is that there's so much that we can do, and so sometimes I'll dabble a little bit, not so much anymore because I've been so busy recently, but, dabbling with music and doing some management and doing some like contracts and stuff like that with musicians. So I dabbled a little bit in that just to kind of get out of that darkness of immigration sometimes.
When I went into your page, of course, your law firm, like immigration and music. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. It's odd, right? And then once I did my research, okay, she is passionate about music, and I'm now everything makes sense as well, right? Of course that. Talk to us, of course, we're going to go back to immigration, but why music? And is there, again, in my ignorance here, is there a lot of business here in El Paso when it comes to that law, music law. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah. So there's a surprising amount of original music and really good music in El Paso. I think people don't realize it. I haven't seen your episode with Monica, but I'm sure she got into it. We both serve on the board, Monica Acevedo. We both serve on the board of the El Paso International Music Foundation. And yeah, there is a lot of really talented musicians. So one of our goals with the foundation is to kind of elevate the music scene to be more professional, have their contracts together and have their ducks in a row. And so I think what tended to happen with me practicing music law or even just managing artists was I tended to get sucked in from like a legal role into kind of doing everything for musicians. And so I have to kind of pull back on that sometimes and be like, no, I can just help you with this contract, or I can just help you with that and that, because there is like a really big need for managers. But yeah, there's a lot of musicians that need help. It's just, the thing is that I think sometimes I love music so much and I want to help artists in any way that I can, that sometimes I'll just be like, here, have that contract, here, let me do this for you, And so
is it mainly to protect like their original music? Is it their contract with their managers? What is it mainly that you deal with?
Yeah, all of that. Band agreements, making sure that they have their copyrights, agreements with locations. So like if they're doing a show somewhere, do you have a contract in place that how much you're getting paid? How are they paying you? Also
event contracts between the artist and the venue? Is that a lot of that?
Event contracts, or even if they're going in studio, the producer contracts, if they have a vocalist coming in, or they have, a drummer playing, or, who wrote what, that kind of stuff.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Tell us about your firm. When I was looking at your team, I noticed that there's maybe 5 to 6 all females. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a reason why, or talk to us about that.
Not intentionally. I did have a male at one point.
You make it seem like, yeah. He was there for like
no,
2 days.
Honestly, it's not intentionally. I haven't intentionally hired women only.
Do you have to say that per law?
Yes. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it really hasn't been intentionally. For some reason, I just get a lot of female applicants when I am looking for assistance. We don't get a lot of male applicants, really. I can tell you over 11 years, I've probably only had like 4 or 5 out of, 40 resumes that I've looked at. Like, there's really not that many males. I don't know if it's a role that's not, I don't know why that happens. So it's not intentional, but it's cool.
Tell us about your firm. Actually, I really want to know how many firms focused on specialized in immigration do we have in El Paso? Talk to us a little bit about your own firm, please.
There is a lot of immigration attorneys now.
When you say a lot, can you give me a number?
Oh.
More than 50, more than 100, less than 20?
No, the thing about El Paso is that we don't have a law school. So what ends up happening is there's not as many attorneys, I think, as there are like in other places, because we don't have a law school. But I would say immigration attorneys, it's hard to say because recently there have been a bunch that have just kind of like popped up. But I would say that there's probably like a good solid 20, 30 immigration attorneys. When I first started, there was probably only like 10 of us. But even still, there's only probably like 10, 15 of us that are really like solid, go to court, that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. Talk to us about your own firm. What sets you apart from others?
I think our experience, for sure. I mean, I've been practicing for such a long time, and I do exclusively immigration. So I specialize, at this point, we specialize only in removal defense and family-based petitions.
Okay, you're going to have to go slow on that. Removal what?
Removal defense.
Okay, that is when someone... Okay, you know what? Tell us about it, because then I'm going to try to explain.
Yeah, so if somebody... Let's say somebody's here in the country.
Illegally, of course.
They overstayed a visa, or they have legal status and they got criminal charges. Or if asylum cases, like they go to a port of entry and ask to come in and they need to present an asylum case.
Is that often, like the asylum cases? Because from, again, my ignorance here, I see that a lot. But then I also see that in order for you get granted, for that to be granted, like it has to be 1 out of maybe 1,000. And you please explain to me that.
Asylum is very difficult. In El Paso, we have one of the worst approval ratings in the country.
What is the percentage?
Our judges deny 95% of asylum cases. Yeah, so asylum is very difficult. But like almost everybody that's been coming in the past like 8 years are asylum cases. And it really does depend on political stuff, what's going on. So right now it's a lot of people, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, because of the situations going on there. I mean, crazy influx within the past like 2 days of Ukrainians. So
here in the border as well.
I haven't been getting calls,
Okay.
but I'm in some groups like online, and a lot of the like group immigration attorney groups are saying that they're getting calls from people in Ukraine. So no, not necessarily here in El Paso, but like those kinds of ebb and flows with the political scene do depend on who's coming in. But yeah, it's a lot of asylum. And the thing with asylum too is because I do removal defense, I see people that they detain, and so yeah, those are a lot of asylum cases.
Those removal cases, is there, I mean, of course, I'm thinking the percentage of people that do get granted, like for them to live or work here. But is that kind of like the bulk of your job, of people, of course, overextended visas that maybe there's a case after that? Is that kind of like the majority of the cases that you take?
Well, right now, because of COVID, a big majority of our cases are the family petitions. So with the detention centers, they were releasing a lot of people. So we weren't doing as much detention work. Right now, we've been doing a lot of proactive stuff. So if you're here and you want to petition for a family member that's in another country, we've been doing a lot of those type of petitions.
Okay, where are we at when it comes to the taking care of the detention centers for kids, for minors? I even have friends that I don't think they're actively working there because I don't know the status of, but they used to work. They used to take care of the kids. How can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't do a lot. You know, people always ask about that, and I don't have a lot of interaction with the children because a lot of the nonprofits are usually the ones that handle the children. So they have to get basically like a government contract and then get cleared to work with the children.
But what's the process there? Like, is there, like, will they stay here and live with a relative, or first thing, I'm gonna send you back to your parents? What is the process there?
So it depends on the detention center, but most of them have goals to get them out within a certain amount of time. So they'll process a child, they'll contact family. So let's say, and it also depends if a child comes in unaccompanied or not. But if a child comes in, what they deem them unaccompanied, they don't have a family member, parent with them, they'll screen them. They'll try to find a family member, and then they screen the family to make sure that it is family, that it's a safe environment, and things like that. But they do have goals to get them out of custody as soon as they can. And then the child will go on to have an immigration case and present their immigration case. That was a big problem under Trump, was that some of the children were coming in. Actually, it started under Obama, but some children were coming in and they did come with family members, and they would separate them. And then they would classify the child as coming in unaccompanied when they actually came in with a family member. And so it would be a different process for them, which made it easier for them to kind of separate them and things like that. And so that was one of the big issues, was that they were reclassifying children as unaccompanied when they weren't really unaccompanied. They had come in with family members. And so, yeah, each detention, depending on where they send them, they have goals of getting them out within like 14 days. But they do screen family, and they do try and release them to safe environments.
Now, immigration is one of those topics close to, especially like kind of like religion, of where you stand, especially in the border. Again, you don't, because of maybe of your job, you don't have to tell me your own opinion if you want to, of course. But it is one of those topics that from time to time, when I talk to my friends, family, and everything, it's one of those things that, I mean, we're Mexican, right? And I put myself in the shoes of people. Of course, they want to work, the majority of people. But then I also see the other side. Okay, but there has to be a limit as well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be. There has to be something. But it's just so difficult. And again, I don't think there will ever be kind of like a middle point as far as, okay, well, let's agree on this. But what I did wanted to ask you specifically is, like, a lot of people think that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that with Obama, they were more lenient, that there was more people, more kids, more people, students, right, with the DREAM Act and all that. We'll talk about the Dreamers right now. But then the fact is that under Obama's administration, there was more deportations, right? So then was it more difficult under Trump? What is the difference? Because numbers are numbers, facts are facts. But then, like, again, our perception, especially in our border town, is like, no, Trump, it is harder. And now that I hear you say it, that in a way, like, is that the case? I mean, of course, you're the expert here.
Yeah, immigration is a really divisive issue. And I think one of the things that's really frustrating is that being like an immigration attorney, I think sometimes people think, and then I'm like so pro immigration, but that doesn't mean, being pro-immigration doesn't mean that I want everybody to be let in, I think. And so that's where it gets a little bit frustrating, because it becomes this rhetoric where it's like political talk of, oh, well, you're pro-immigration, you want everybody to come in, and it's like, that's why I'm really all about getting facts out there, and I want people really to understand immigration. But yeah, I mean, we just want a system that works. Right now, it's really difficult for me to get, for example, a visa for a musician who could be incredibly talented, because they don't have a Grammy, or, they're missing a certain letter or something like that. They won't be able to work in the country and come, play music here. And that's dumb, especially when you start talking about scientists or engineers or things like that. So we just want a system that works, and right now the immigration system does not work. Like,
will we ever get to a system that works? Can there be something that works regarding this topic?
I think as long as we are so politically divided, no. but that could be said about a lot of things, not just immigration, but I think immigration is so divisive, and I think whenever it's become so bad that if you're even a little bit pro-immigration, it's like, you want everybody in, and it's like, that's not what we're saying, let's actually have a conversation about it. But I think there's so much misinformation and so much xenophobia and fear of the other that I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think there would definitely have to be like a rehaul of the entire immigration system, which is okay by me, but it would take a lot of people coming together in order for that to happen. And I don't see that happening as divisive as everybody's been and like political things are right now.
Yeah, again, as you're telling me this, like, I remember some friends, the conversation around, again, it depends on the bias that you have, right? The idea that you have that, yes, if you watch news about people, I don't know, immigrants killing others or robbing people, of course, in your head, because that's what you want to hear, that's going to just fuel your opinion, that you have your strong opinion on that, right? But the fact that it's just too difficult, again, of something that, like you said, for it to be fixed overnight, right? It has to be, first of all, I don't know if maybe it has to start with not only government, with the people have a different take on how we feel about immigrants, right?
Yeah.
The people that are very, I don't know if you said this, but I will say this, pro-Trump, right? The ones that, like, this is the way we should do it, the American way, or whatever it is. What I find as a, what you call it, like kind of like a common point between those people is that people that haven't traveled enough. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I try to travel outside the United States, right? And when you see other people, other countries, the way they suffer, not because they want to, right? You're like, how can we say no? Yeah. But then on the other side, of course, again, there has to be, okay, do you want everyone? Yeah. And it's so hard because I don't have an answer. I don't even have a strong opinion on it because I would like to say I'm pro-immigrant. Different reasons, by the way, which I won't name in front of you. But the fact is that, like, at the same time, putting myself in the other side, like, it's a very difficult subject here.
Yeah, I think something for me that I just notice is that, yeah, I think for you to have that point of view, you have to be really like some sort of complete inability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I think it just comes, I think it speaks to somebody's privilege when it's just like, well, why are those people coming here? Because I see those stories every day. Like, I see the things that they're coming from, and we see that it's not, thieves and murderers and whatever. And so I just think it speaks to somebody's privilege and to how they've never had to put themselves in those kinds of shoes. Because I think if you're fleeing your home and everything, it's not because it's something you want to do, and that's usually what we find with these asylum cases. And that's why immigration is so hard, because, you really do. It makes me grateful. It makes me grateful for living the life that I have. And every day it does remind me that, we're so blessed. We're so blessed to be in this country. And so, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. We can stay here in hours really talking about the subject,
immigration,
of course.
Yeah.
But you did have a podcast, Dream Podcast, The Truth About Immigration.
Yes.
2018 to 2020. I'm going to ask you, first of all, why you stopped it. I don't know if it was the pandemic. But when you have that title, The Truth About Immigration, is there a lot of misconceptions out there? Because that was intended for the regular folks, right?
Yeah.
So what, are there a lot of misconceptions? What's some of the biggest ones that, you know what, this is worthy of talking about?
Yeah, there's so many. That was the reason that, and I think I was just so frustrated when I started the podcast. It was like, okay, people just don't understand immigration at all, and so that's why we started the podcast. And yeah, we haven't recorded. I do still want to keep doing episodes. The pandemic was a big part of stopping. I also did open the bar, and so that was kind of a big part of stopping too. I do want to revisit it and get back to it, but I think I want to kind of revamp it.
Add some
Immigration
video as well. That might be nice.
Yeah, video. Definitely want to do video. I also feel like it's a really heavy topic, so I think I need like a little comedy in there or somebody, to lighten.
Oh, you should invite me. I have a lot of stupid jokes.
You have jokes?
Sure. Oh, I have jokes. Richie, which he was a guest of ours.
Yes.
He did a really good job, kind of like, and I think that was your intent at the beginning, kind of just lighted the mood. Yeah. Not only talking about like textbook of things that you guys should know, right?
Yeah, and I do want to revisit it. I'm a big believer in like things, like not forcing things, to kind of just things happen when they're supposed to happen. And the podcast kind of like took a little break, and I think it was good because especially like everything that was happening politically, I think it would have been too much for me at the time. But I think it'll start up again when it's meant to happen.
Nice. Now, going back to misconceptions, talk to us about one or two that you're like, this is one of those things that people should be educated on, or we need to talk about this.
I would definitely say number one is what we were talking about with asylum, and people just not like really thinking that people are just coming here for the wrong reasons. And I don't know what the right reasons are, anyways, because if I'm living in a country where I can't feed my kids and I see my kids literally starving and I want to get away and make a better life, and so I try to come to the United States, like who am I to judge that for somebody else, So I would definitely say the reasons that people seek asylum, and us kind of judging them or thinking the wrong things about them. But also tied into that would be that a lot of people think that they get benefits, government benefits or things like that. You really can't get government benefits unless you have a Social Security. So you don't get that unless you're here legally. So that's, I guess, two of them right there. But my biggest one would be asylum. Second one would be I think people don't understand the difference between being here legally and illegally. They think you're either a citizen. There's different levels of being here legally. You can have work authorization. You can have your residency. You can be a citizen. So there's different levels of being here legally. And I think that's probably my number two one that people don't understand.
Nice. Then, like my mom, it's funny because it's a true story. My mom said when I opened the business, it's been open for 2 years. She said, you know what? I don't know. I watched something on TV that she said, you know what? You should hire your tío from Chihuahua. So, you can give them papers. Like, I don't think it works that way. That, hey, vete a trabajar. I don't know if, I doubt it's that simple. Now that you said that engineers or musicians that, like, I doubt that if I said, he's going to, I don't know, work for me, that I can just be like, okay, well, come on over, right? Because if not, I'm sure a lot more people would be here.
Well, I'm telling you, there's so many misconceptions. It's hard for me to pick two, but that's another one is that people think, oh, well, they should just do it legally. It's like, dude, it's not that easy. First of all, it's really freaking expensive. Second of all, you can't really fix your status unless you have a family member. It's really hard. Like we talked about asylum. I mean, it's a 95% denial rate for you to have asylum. Asylum is really the only way to fix your status if you don't have a family member. But yeah, there's not a lot of ways to get your residency unless you have family.
Talk to us about marrying people. I see a lot of weddings from... it's funny because I might or might not have a primo that wanted to... you know what? I'm going to stop here because I don't know if this is going to be... yeah. They're like, hey, primo, consígueme. Like, how are we on that? Because I do know, I mean, of course, we're not innocent about it, that there's a lot of marriages that are not. But then from what I heard, like, it's not the same that it used to be. Like, okay, pues te casaste and you're good. Like, there is more to it. Tell us a little about that. That way, like, my primo can listen to it.
We won't name names.
Yeah, Julio, Leo.
Yeah, well, getting married is the fastest and easiest way to get your residency. And then your residency can later on become citizenship. So because it's the easiest way and fastest way and like most assured way, if it's a valid relationship, a lot of people do get married. So yeah, there's a lot of immigration fraud. But we as practitioners, If you tell me you're just getting married to somebody, I'm not supposed to take your case. So there's like systems in place to try and combat that. Also, usually if you've been married less than 2 years, you'll get a conditional residency. And after 3 years, you have to do another petition. And if you're not married to that person anymore, they're like, hey, what happened? So there are systems in place. And, ethically, we're not supposed to be filing those petitions either. Us or the person, really.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, you can get jail time, fines,
Nice.
Yeah, they take it serious.
Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that out. Primo,
So, primo.
Yeah. One thing that before we move on to different topic, right now talking about immigration, can you be an immigration attorney lawyer without being pro-immigrant? Is that possible without naming anyone? Of course. Is that even possible? Because as I'm thinking, like, you see cases, of course, it humanizes a lot of different things. But I'm like, I'm sure there's some people that even though they're immigration lawyers, the truth is that they're not pro-immigrants or their view, their opinion, it's different. And again, do you have to be pro-immigrant in order for you to be an attorney?
No. So if you think about immigration and you think about it like in the criminal context, there's like defense attorneys and then there's prosecutors, right? And so the defense attorney like defends the person who's in trouble. The prosecutor is kind of like the government attorney. So even in immigration, it's the same thing. So I'm on the defense side, but there are attorneys that work for the government. There's a main guy that's the chief counsel, and then the people under him are assistant chief counsels. We call them ACCs. So a lot of the government attorneys are very anti. I mean, I've had cases where I have somebody asking for asylum and they're giving their testimony crying on the stand, and I look over and the government attorney is like this, like on his phone, and I'm like, dude, like she's up there telling her story crying, like whether you believe it or not, or think that she doesn't have a valid asylum claim, like to at least be respectful, and so so no, I think not all of them are like that. Of course, there's a lot that do kind of understand. But I do think a lot of government attorneys are very desensitized to the work that they do.
Nice. Well, thank you for clearing that out. Now, aside from experience, if I am looking for an immigration lawyer, attorney, what are some things? No, can tell. But what should I look at? What are some things as you're comparing and contrasting firms, aside from experience, because it's big, what else should someone look for?
I think it's definitely got to be somebody you feel comfortable with. Talk to them, see how you feel with them. A lot of attorneys don't even talk to their clients themselves. Like they'll have their legal assistant. I'm a big believer in doing my own intakes and talking to my own clients because I want them to see me and feel comfortable with me. So I think that's super important. Make sure you feel comfortable with them. A lot of times, I think you also have to be reasonable with like your expectations. Like I have clients who call me every day and say, hey, I called you yesterday. And it's like, dude, like I'm in court, or, if you're reasonable about your expectations with hearing back from them and things like that, I think that's important too.
How are you able to find a balance of, like, let's say you have a difficult day, a tough day at work, there was a case that, I don't know, it didn't go your way, and how are you able to separate that when, okay, it's 5 p.m., now I go home, right, with family. How are you able to disconnect? Are you able to disconnect, or you're not able to?
I've been doing it so long at this point that we kind of have expectations, I think, at this point. Like, I know, and all I can really do is prepare my clients. So let's say that I have an asylum case that, I know it's not a good asylum case. I definitely prepare expectations from the get-go. Like, hey, we'll do what we can, but you don't have the strongest case, or things like that. So I kind of try to definitely manage expectations for my clients. And I think that's like the biggest part of what we do. But for me personally, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to just kind of compartmentalize and then, just kind of take care of your own mental health and move on. And that's all you can really do. There's a lot of, for immigration attorneys, I think there's a lot of secondary trauma. I think at this point in my career, I've kind of learned how to like deal with it. And I have like my balances in other stuff. But yeah, it does get hard sometimes.
It has to be, and it's funny how you tell me your story. It reminds me back when had a conversation with Alex. Same thing, right? When you have cases, and then you already talked a little bit about it as far as, okay, ways that you want to venture out to like other things. but it has to be difficult. Like, even if you are, I don't know, experienced lawyer like yourself, like, the truth is it gets you. You're human. You have family in El Paso. I'm sure you have cases of family members or people that you know that, I mean, they just have to touch your heart, you know?
Yeah, and it's hard too, because sometimes, especially with clients that are detained, you know, they look at you and they're like, you're like their last lifeline. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely still cases that I think about, people that didn't get their cases approved and got sent back, and you wonder, you know, how are they? Are they still alive? Did they even make it?
Do you keep contact with those people?
No, I don't. No, I think it would be too hard. Honestly, like, especially cases where you know that they went back to dangerous situations. It's like you kind of do have to compartmentalize it sometimes.
Yeah, all right. Well, enough about immigration, because, again, we can spend hours talking about it, about specific cases. I have a lot of primos, so they have a lot of questions, by the way. But all right, let's talk about, because, again, the one thing, as I was doing my research, I've been following you for a very long time. Even with the episode with Alex, I was telling you that we talked about you. I don't remember if it was recorded, if it was before, if it was after. Like, you know what, my intention behind this is not just to have conversations with people that are successful business owners, lawyers. I don't know. But my goal is for someone that's doing stuff outside their job, right? And then if they have a cool story that they can inspire others, even better, right? But let's talk about, how do you structure your day? You do so much. For example, yesterday I noticed you went to a networking event. Right after that, you were recording a podcast. I don't think you were on. I think it was a recording for someone else, which that someone else, by the way, I sent that a DM. I won't say any names. And she hasn't responded. Can she just tell me no, please? Can you please tell her, hey, just say no, no quiero, lo que sea. But she just left me on scene. I'm like, what happened there?
Well, I don't know which one of the two.
Okay. City rep.
Okay.
Pero bueno, talk to us. Why is it that you do so much, and how do you structure your day? I know it's a lot of questions, so go ahead.
My day really, really depends on what I have going on. I usually do like office stuff. So lately, I've been meditating a lot. So I wake up early. I'll read a little bit, and then I meditate.
What's early? What time you wake up?
Well, early for me is 7:30.
That's early. Okay.
That's early for me. Yeah, I'm not a morning person at all. I've never been a morning person.
I thought you were going to say 4 o'clock in the morning. Like,
no,
okay.
That's Alex. That's not me.
Okay.
Alexandria does that. Yeah, so 7:30 I'll wake up. I'll like read a little bit. So I wake up.
Will you read fiction? Do you read self-help? And I'm sorry I'm asking this, but this is something like kind of like I get my best practices. What do you read? How many pages? Is there
I try to have a balance.
Okay.
So I'm usually reading something kind of like self-help, like I call kind of the boring stuff. And then I really like fiction. I like fiction because it kind of gets me out of my head and thinking about everything. At night, I always read fiction. I read a lot. So I go through I would say I go through like a book a month almost of fiction. So at night I read, and then in the morning I'll either read. I kind of just see how I feel.
Does reading help you disconnect?
Yeah. Because I just kind of go into like a fiction world, you know. So I don't like reading like biographies and stuff like that. I think that's why I like fiction, because it helps me disconnect. So like in the morning, I'll kind of play it by ear on how I feel. If I'm trying to finish like a certain book, like a self-help book or something, I'll read those. Or I'll just read a little bit of fiction. I do this app called Libby where you can download. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's through the public libraries. So you can get books. You just basically like check out books, but it's digital. So I'm always like on a deadline where I'm like, I need to finish this book because I have to return it in 3 days. So
is it for free or a very
It's for free.
What?
Mm-hmm. Completely free.
Okay.
Yeah, there's limited like licenses, so you have to wait. Like if somebody has a book checked out, you have to wait, and then you only get it for like 14 days or something like that. So.
And if it just published today, I mean, you're not going to be able to get it tomorrow, right? I mean, I'm sure that the newer, for example, fiction books, they take like 2-3 weeks for it to be available for you.
They get stuff pretty fast.
Okay.
I mean, if the public library has it, it's available.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really cool app. So, so I'll wake up, I'll either read a little bit, or I'll start meditation right away. I've been trying to meditate for like an hour a day.
An hour a day.
Yeah. The past like month and a half, I've been doing a lot of meditation.
Tell us, what meditation are you doing? How does it help you? Because there's so many, and trust me, I have tried several. For me, I still haven't found one that I'm like, oh my God, this is life-changing, right? But an hour, I mean, that's a long time. Which one is it, and how does it help you?
So right now, what I've been doing recently, there's an app called Synchronicity. I'll send it to you. And so I have ADHD and I have anxiety. So I like that app because it has you have to have good headphones though, because it's like 3D. But it
3D sound.
3D sound.
Okay.
Which is cool because for me it has like it has multiple levels going on, like different layers. It'll have like a vocal, it'll have like a nature sound, like a bird chirping, and then it'll have music. And so that helps me stay present, because with ADHD it's kind of hard for me to sit still or be present for too long. So that helps me because I can kind of listen to the music. I can listen to, it's not like guided meditation, it's just sounds. So that one's really cool, and that's usually like 20-30 minutes. And then about the past month, I've been doing like a manifestation meditation because I'm an Aquarius, and so it's been February, and I feel like this month has been really good for manifestation.
So your birthday just passed.
It just passed.
I don't know about signs, but my birthday's next Monday,
Oh,
and
nice.
I know my sister is okay. So happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
So this app, like you're doing this separate meditation, and why are doing two? What's the difference?
I've been doing two because of the month of February and manifestation, and then I'm also really working on manifesting like a couple things in my life. So I've been doing the two, which is kind of a lot. Like towards the end, I do get a little bit restless. About 30 minutes is like a good meditation for me. And so the app is like 20 minutes, but then I've been throwing in this past month the manifestation meditation just because I feel like it's a really powerful manifestation month.
Since when are you big, or it's been all your life that you're a believer in manifesting your dreams or your goals?
I think I've only recently like started to get into kind of understanding it a little bit more and being a little bit more directed about it. Yeah, I would say probably the past like 4 or 5 months that I've been a little bit more.
So that's been recent as well.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of manifested things in my life, but without being so directed about it. But I also think that has a lot to do with like shifts in energy right now. Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world with energies and Age of Aquarius and stuff. Like, so yeah, I don't know. But more recently, it's been more like directed manifestations.
Nice. If you don't mind talking about your anxiety, thank you for sharing that, by the way. In what way does it affect you? Have you always been this? Because again, I honestly don't understand it to a good extent to be able to talk about it more, of course, but because from what I hear from people, there's different types, there's different times, types and times where you get this. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so I pretty much went my whole life without knowing. I mean, I always knew that I was like self-diagnosed ADD, you know. I always knew that I had trouble focusing. Anxiety has always kind of been a part of my life, but it's only been recently that I like actually diagnosed and kind of started to learn mechanisms for dealing with it, and started therapy and things like that, like within the past year, and got diagnosed like a year, 2 years ago, you know. So these were kinds of things I just kind of always learned to deal with, maybe in ways that weren't always the healthiest way.
How were you dealing with that?
I used to smoke a lot of weed. And just always being all over the place, you know, doing this business and that business and being in this place and doing that. And I think only within the past year, I've kind of realized that like my focus sometimes is better when I realize that it's anxiety making me be all over the place, or my ADHD that's not letting me focus. But yeah, kind of dealing with it in ways that weren't necessarily healthy, you know.
Did it affect your relationships as well?
Yeah, I think it does. I think even just friendships, like you kind of bounce around and you're just not focused sometimes. And, you know, even just my friends will be sitting at the table, and I'm not taking any meds or anything like that right now. I'm trying to kind of just deal with things like as they come and not put anything in my body right now. But like we'll be sitting at a table and, you know, I get up and I walk around, or like, especially if I'm at work, we're at the bar and I'm sitting with my friends and anything will distract me, like, oh, that TV's off, or it's not on a sports station, or the music's too loud, or is there food in the kitchen that's waiting to be run out, you know, things like that I'll be distracted by the simplest thing. And now I kind of recognize it a little bit more, and I think if anything, it's just made me be a little bit gentler with myself and be like, you know,
catching yourself and then having like a process to decompress or to take it back. Is that what you're
or just not being hard on myself about it, like oh, why did I get up? Or somebody was talking to me and I couldn't focus on what they were saying to me. You know, well, it's okay, it's just how I am, and I need to understand and be gentle with myself. And it's okay that I did that, and just be kind of gentler with myself. And I think that's something that's kind of come with the diagnosis and understanding that about myself recently. Yeah.
What is anxiety together? Is it overthinking? Is it having particular moments that your brain just can't stop? What is it, or what was it, or what is it for you?
Yeah, definitely racing thoughts are a big part of it. I think also like ADHD in women and men is very different. And I think they're only recently kind of starting to recognize that. But the anxiety, yeah, constant racing thoughts.
Negative thoughts, right? I'm assuming. Because everyone has thoughts, a million I'm assuming.
Yeah, but it would be like almost obsessive. Like I would be like, oh, why did I say that? And then you can't stop thinking about that. And even though you've already thought about it, like that's something that you just keep thinking about. And so the anxiety, like through therapy, I've learned some coping mechanisms. A really good one that my therapist helped me with was like, you think of a box. And if you're thinking about something, you just can't stop thinking about it. Like just put that in the box, and then you're going to come back to it later. And when you can come back to it, you can pull it back out and you can look at it again. And so that you don't keep thinking about it over and over and over again. Like to the point where sometimes I don't sleep. I can't fall asleep because I'm still thinking about the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Is there things that trigger that? Did you notice after that when you were 15? Was there you don't have to explain, like a tragic event, or has that always been this way?
I think honestly, I've always been like a pretty anxious person. But it's one of the big reasons that I've been trying to meditate so much, because it really does help me. It makes a really big difference. I've also been working a lot on like my self-talk. And so I think because of the anxiety, it would be like for example, let's say, I don't know, I have a deadline or paydays tomorrow, and you're like, oh my God, I have payday and I have to pay this and I have to pay that and that and that and that. And so the self-talk recently, and only like within the past 2 months maybe, where it's been like reminding myself that you don't live in a place of scarcity, you live in a place in abundance, and like all of those kinds of things. Like doing all that with my meditation, I think helps with the anxiety. So yeah.
Is this, looking back a little bit, is this anxiety caused by events that happen in your life, or is this something medically that just the way you were wired to, again, for a better term, I'm sorry, since you were born? Because again, I talked to Justin. I had such a great conversation. I don't know if you watched that episode or not, on mental health. I'm really big on I think there's a lot of, most of our issues, business, personal, they all come with the way you think, right? They all start with that. So I'm trying to help out a little bit. And as you describe it, I'm like, I wonder if, I'm sure maybe there's a combination of both, that there was an event that this triggered that, but at the same time, now that you said that you went and asked for professional help, I'm sure that's kind of like when you were diagnosed. But does that mean that you were born with this? Tell me a little bit more about that.
You and my therapist would like to know.
Hey, I need to invite your therapist over,
right?
For sure.
No, we don't need to do that. I don't know. I think a lot of it, the nature versus nurture type stuff. I mean, I'm sure both things kind of play into it, but I don't know.
To what percentage? Because you said you recently, right, a couple of years maybe, that's when you asked for help, and where now you're actively kind of like finding ways to help with that. But what made you ask for help, look for help?
Kind of just, I guess, growing up. Kind of like, I don't know, just trying to get healthy mentally, recognizing that sometimes you need to talk to somebody. I think therapy is really good for everybody. I think it's something that everybody needs to do. And I know it's hard because with insurance and getting into actually see someone with COVID right now,
is really culture hard. As well, because we're not used to that. As soon as you tell someone that you're talking about your problems with someone else, ta loco, like our culture, Mexican culture, or Latino culture as well, that plays a big role.
Yeah, I think just trying to grow as a person really was a big thing for me. Like, I'm ready to kind of break some habits that are habits that I think are just ingrained, like our culture, or thought patterns. And I think I just recognized, hey, I need to kind of get outside of myself and get an outside perspective in order to do that, and get healthy emotionally, physically, mentally, so.
That's good. Of course, we're always a work in progress, but to what percentage would you say that right now you are better compared to a year ago compared to 2 years ago compared to 5 years ago?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I have grown a lot in the past year or so. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a much healthier place than I was even just a year ago, 2 years ago. Yeah, I would say I've grown a lot. And I think a big part of it has been therapy and having somebody else to talk to and just kind of have a sounding board. Also, my wife, she's in a really good place too. She's in medical school, and so we're both kind of like on this path of growing together. So I feel healthy. Yeah, I feel good.
That's good. Please tell your wife to have her Instagram open because it's private. As I was doing my research, I would love to.
You were doing research.
Oh, I have to. Just like I was telling you, you're giving me your time. I'm not gonna be here just asking like, hey, tell me about the web. Like I really have to respect that, and because of that, I mean, that's what I did. But I noticed she's in the medical field, something, right?
Yeah.
But for anyone listening, hearing, seeing, whatever it is, what would you recommend? Kind of like maybe a sign that, hey, you may be suffering about this, and maybe if they have identified that there is an issue, will be again your 2 or 3 things that maybe you should try to get help. What would they be?
Well, I think definitely like depression. If there's any kind of depression, if you've ever felt
to an extended period, right? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but then if not, I'm gonna forget. Because depression, we all get moments that we feel down. There's always moments that. Okay, that you're always talking negative about yourself, right? But what is depression? Because then, like the people that have it consistently, what is that?
I think I don't think there has to be like a certain amount of time. I think if you're ever at a place where like you just can't shake it off, because I think for the most part, yeah, we all kind of get down. But if you just can't shake it off, or if you're ever feeling like self-harm or anything like that, I think definitely get help. But for me, like I just recently got like diagnosed, but I've been on like anti-anxiety meds for like 10 years, and that was just through my regular doctor, and finally they were like, no, you need to go talk to a therapist now. But I've probably been on anti-anxiety meds for like 10 years. And the reason I first started getting on something and realized that it was a problem was because it was interfering with my work.
In what ways?
It was like a little bit like depression, where it would be like I would just cry for anything, or I just wasn't productive like I felt like I should be. So that was definitely a red flag. So if somebody's ever in a place where they feel like they just can't shake it off, like there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody. For the anxiety, I think, and actually you said it, you asked somebody, I don't remember which episode it was on, you were talking about what's your one piece of advice for, if you want to start a business, and you said you really have to know yourself. And that really resonated with me. I think that is huge. You have to know yourself. And if you want to grow as a person, like, and there's just some part of you that you can't get out of your head, or you can't, you have to recognize that. And sometimes you do need to talk to somebody. Sometimes you do need a little bit of help with being on medication that pulls you out of your depression. Like, it sucks, but sometimes that's the situation, and so you do have to recognize that with yourself. But if it does affect your personal life, if it's affecting your work, and there's nothing ever wrong with talking to somebody and having a sounding board and saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling, this, and this, and what do you think? And yeah, maybe you have anxiety, maybe you have depression, maybe you don't have anything and you just need some coping mechanisms. But yeah, definitely like depression is a little bit hard. And I think a lot of people don't understand depression. And it really is like I didn't really understand it until I experienced it, because for me, it was just like, oh, just be happy or smile, or, Yeah. But when you're going through depression, you really like can't pull yourself out of it. And that can be a dangerous place to be in. And I think that's when you start getting into dangerous situations with like suicide and things like that. That's why I think a lot of people don't understand it who haven't experienced it. So yeah, there's nothing ever wrong with just talking to somebody.
Any advice for someone that, again, like your wife, you say your wife has been big on supporting you, like that, so, like advice for me, for your wife, that we're on the other end. Number one, I have learned that it's not just as simple as say, hey, just smile, hey, like, no pasa nada. That was me back in the day, because to me, it's so simple, certain things. But again, through learning a little bit more, through having a little bit more empathy, you understand that it's not as simple as that. Sí, me puedes decir esto, but it's not as simple as that. So any advice that you have from like for the other side, like me, if I know someone, or either ways to kind of like check on a friend, check on a spouse, or if there is something, like what is the best way to support someone with depression, anxiety, aside from just saying, vas a estar bien, you're okay? What else?
I think it's good to encourage people to talk to a professional, because sometimes you're not equipped to deal with that, especially if somebody is in depression, or where they're, danger to themselves or to other people. Like sometimes you're just not equipped for that. So I think just being there and encouraging them and letting them know that it's okay. I think it's important for me to talk about it for myself, because I think people need to normalize it a little bit more and know that we all have anxiety.
Yep.
We all go through depression. Like it's normal. Talking to a therapist is normal. Realizing, hey, I have to take meds or I get really depressed. That stuff is normal. So I think just being there for somebody and kind of normalizing mental health and addressing your mental health issues is all you can really do.
I appreciate this conversation, you sharing this a lot. I know it's gonna help someone, because again, when I had conversations like this, that like you have no idea, like the comment that you said that, hey, when you said this actually resonated, like this is something, like you never have an idea, especially if I have 3 views, my mom, mi tia, and then somebody else. You don't understand, right? Not that I care about views, but the fact is that that's why this is so important as far as people sharing stories and being open. Like you said, I think the first step is being okay with being open, right? Because especially someone like Jesuina, someone like Alex that share like their issues with alcohol, or like you would think that, oh, like they are here, but then everyone's normal, everyone's okay, everyone has issues. It's just a matter of once you are able to identify and to be able to be open, I think now you're in a good place, right? I think, I don't know if you were this open 5 years ago. I don't know if you were open 10 years ago to share this, to talk about it, and to also kind of like help yourself with this, right? So it makes a big difference.
And I think, the whole point is evolving and becoming better human beings, and if we keep in those cycles, we're just going to keep in those cycles until we learn our lessons. And so, if you're drinking, what are you masking? Are you ever going to identify the root and actually address it, So, being self-aware is really important, and actually trying to break those cycles and your patterns that are keeping you in that same life cycle.
Tell me if you share the same point of view or not. As I have conversations like this with my daughter. It's crazy. As far as the self-awareness, right? Self-awareness and perspective, I think it's the number 1 and 2 things. Once you have self-awareness, once you have perspective, there's no way that you can be unhappy. Again, my own opinion, might be stupid opinion, but those are I'm a true believer in those 2 things. Now, self-awareness. I think perspective you can work on it by traveling, by knowing more people, by hearing a different opinion. I think perspective, it can be. But as I think through this, and again, I really want to hear your take on this, self-awareness, I have narrowed down to intelligence. Like, I have narrowed down to either you have it or not. And again, it might be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm like, there's some people that just don't have that self-awareness that, hey, that comment you just made, aquí no. Like you, just by reading what I'm talking about, like kind of like our conversation, I know that I can skip my questions or, sabes que, let's talk about this because you know what I mean? That's self-awareness, that being able to kind of read the room, read the person, right? But as I think about it, you know what? It is intelligence. And as I think about intelligence, either you're born with it or not. And that sucks because, I mean, of course, if you're not, it sucks for you. Pero el chiste es, and again, there's no right or wrong answer, but what's your take on that? Is that something that you share, or can you tell me, sabes que no, self-awareness, it might be intelligence, of course, but that is something that you can work on. Have you thought about that prior to today?
I haven't really thought about that, but I think there's some not intelligent people that can be self-aware. I think it's more, instead of intelligence, maybe what's the word? Like, not common sense, but kind of just
common sense. No, it is. I think self-awareness, common sense. Like, it's kind of like, well, in my opinion. Let's see.
I'm trying to think of the right word, and I don't think it necessarily means intelligence, because Well, and maybe that's like the hopeful side of me, that like maybe you don't have to be born an intelligent person to be self-aware, or to even be like caring and kind, and that hopefully you can become that even if you weren't born like that. But yeah, no, I definitely agree that exposing yourself to other things and travel and other people and other opinions definitely plays into that for sure.
Don't feel pressure, because again, I know that it's just conversation that I think for hours, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? It boils down to this, and if I'm right, which hopefully I'm not, but then that sucks, because there's some stuff that you can't control and some others that you just can't.
I would maybe switch the word intelligence with like naive or naivety, because I feel like that's something that you can control. You may be naive and that you've never traveled the world or left El Paso. But you can change that by being self-aware, by traveling the world and then having a little bit more exposure, whereas you can't necessarily change your intelligence, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Something to think about. Hopefully after the episode, you're like, oh, let me really think about this. Y luego me lo mandas if it is something that you're like, hey, you know what? I got it.
You know what? Edit this into the podcast. I'm going to film myself and then just the clip will be right there.
Of course. I see. Like, we'll put your business card on the film, right? Oh, by the way. This is a question that I started incorporating after Chelsea, the owner of Chuco Relic. She's very smart, woman educated, and also like the way she thinks. I think I share a lot of things with her. And then after the episode, she asked me, hey, are you the happiest person that you know? Have me think, and then that involves a lot of different things, right? So I'm going to ask you, of course, the same question. And if the answer is no, based on your self-awareness, what are some steps that you're taking to get there, right? So first of all, are you the happiest? How happy are you? What is happiness to you? Y a dónde vamos? I know that was like 5 questions in one, so good luck with that.
I think I'm the happiest person I know. Yeah. But I think it's taken a lot of work to get there.
Okay.
And I would probably say only within the past like few years that I could say that.
What is happiness for you? Is it fulfillment? Is it, we all have a different definition, a different take. What is it for you?
And I mean, this is like questions today, 223, 22, 224, 20. For me, happiness is being at peace, fulfillment. I feel all those things right now. And I think that's why I could say that I think I'm the happiest person that I know. Because I'm happy like with myself right now. And like I said, it's like today, but yeah, for me, it's definitely being at peace. Yeah.
I like that. Is that being in peace? Of course, it involves a lot of different things. It involves, like, again, feeling fulfilled that, you know what, I am doing the right thing. My relationships are good. Is there anything that you actively do? I know we talked a little bit about it already, in order for you to maintain that happiness, in order for you to maintain that level of, hey, I feel good right now? Because I think it's, hopefully you do as well, that it's progress, it's work. Like you said, it's today. Well, yeah, but that means that pues tomorrow le toca echar ganas, it is an active thing, right?
Every day le echamos ganas. I think it's an everyday thing. I think it's a mindset. I think a lot of people, I've been reading, I have like 2 more chapters left in this book called The Power of the Unconscious Mind.
Okay.
Or the subconscious mind, power of the subconscious mind. And it talks a lot about your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, and like how powerful your subconscious mind is, and how people don't really think about that, and how your subconscious mind like just takes whatever for face value. So if you say, I can't afford that soda, yeah, you can't afford that soda, and your subconscious mind just takes it for face value. So self-talk is really important, and every day you have to make that decision. And so I've been focusing a lot, on my self-talk and on choosing it every day, the happiness and kind of just living in gratitude. But it is something that you have to do every day, and it's really easy to get thrown off from that mindset. But I think it is something that it's an everyday thing that you have to choose to do. Yeah.
All this comes from self-perspective and self-awareness and perspective, by the way.
Yeah.
Once you have that, like, understand where you're at, right? Because, again, you might think you're happy, but then if you have all those moments that most of your day you're not, or most of your week, no. And then, again, the perspective to understand, like, what helps me all the time is that I don't think the right word's afraid of dying. It's not that. But from an early age, I realized that I'm going to die, right? Like and with that comes with, bro, no pasa nada. Like, the worst case scenario is this. I have so many issues, right? But the worst case scenario is this. If the answer is, are you going to die out of this? Is the answer is no? No pasa nada. And a lot of people, a lot of friends mistake that with he doesn't care. Yeah. It's not about that. It's just I really have a clear understanding of what matters in the book of, like, this should matter, this shouldn't matter, right? And this is going to sound extremely selfish, but in the pandemic, when people said, oh, the pandemic has helped me to have a different take, a different perspective, a different thing on, like, it really helped me with this. When you ask me what I have a take, and again, yo sé que suena muy mamón, pero nada, like, the pandemic did nothing to me as far as, like, oh, now I'm a better person. Because the fact is that I have always had, like, this is a situation, now you deal with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it's gonna pass. Things are gonna pass. And you know that podcast that we were talking about, as far as, like, you know what, I just listened to one 2 hours long, that it was like at 12 p.m., 11 p.m. And I was like, I don't know if I should send, I'm gonna send that for you. And it will be mind blowing, by the way. But when going back to that, and again, the one thing that I struggle with a lot of things, but the one thing is, like, first of all, if no one asks for your opinion, shut up.
Yeah.
Because I used to make the mistake que me dices tú, all you have to do is this. Digo, oh, you have to travel, vete a Cuba, porque I went to Cuba. Ahí vas a aprender perspective, you know? And, or no pasa nada. And, like, first of all, if no one's asking your opinion, shut up. Yeah. And the other thing that I have learned is just to have a little bit more, well, it's very similar perspective on, like, fully understanding, right? Being empathy for both sides. For example, right now, the war broke down, right? I do see and I get it against Russia. Russia's doing this, and I get it. Trust me. But then, before I give you my opinion, like, I'm sure there's something else I don't hear. And again, this is how I feel. Like, having those two and going back to happiness, that is happiness. Because if you only go one route, pues, ¿qué crees? Like, chances are that, yes, it is for this topic, but it will be for others, that you only go one way. Mm-hmm. And things are not that simple, right? And I think that perspective, at least for me, makes me feel comfortable. And comfortable, just like you said, at peace, it is happiness as well. That in progress, by the way, but I'll say.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? I'm sorry that te digo, somehow, some way we start talking about that, and they were there every single episode.
Yeah. Well, and then happiness is so many things to, you know, a lot of people, if you ask them what is happiness to you, I think a lot of people wouldn't even be able to tell you what that is to them. So, and it can be different things to different people. And like I mean, even for me, it depends on the day you ask me, you know, like, you know, happiness for me might be, I got some chicken nuggets that day. Like,
right. It just, for me, has been the perspective that, like, when I have good moments, boom, like, I store it. Like, this is a good moment, déjame en paz, boom, I'm living the moment. And when I have difficult ones, this is gonna pass.
Yeah.
No pasa nada. Like,
you
really, like,
have
that's
to
it.
be.
You know?
Yeah, you have to be, because then you get in that mindset, and then that's when you start getting into that negative talk, and then you can't dwell in that space. Yeah. Nice.
As you know, since you have watched several episodes, I have a daughter, vive conmigo, right? So for 10 years already. And I struggle with, again, this is the first time we interact, but hopefully you can see that, hey, este vato pues has confidence, whatever, right? But it's so difficult for me to teach my daughter to be confident. Like, we have conversations, but like, it's not as simple as, hey, all you have to do is be confident. So my question has been to especially female guests is, like, what advice do you have to build confidence on girls, on your kids, on anyone, of course, but, like, is there anything that you can talk about when it comes to building confidence in women?
Ooh. Well, one of the things that I talk about a lot is that I think I am the person that I am because of my mom. My mom definitely, I mean, of course, everybody in my life, but my mom shaped me in so many ways. And me as a little kid, I've always been shy. But my mom would, and I hated it at the time, but I think it was so good for me. Like, I would look at the menu, and then I would just like look down, and then I would like whisper to her what I wanted, and she would tell me, no, you tell her what you want, you know? And so I think my mom taught me from a very young age to not be afraid to speak up. You know, that kind of forced me to look people in the eye and to like advocate for myself and what I wanted. And little things like that I think are really important, especially for young women, is like not to allow them to not be comfortable in their own space. And so I think my mom like pushed a lot of that on me that I didn't like when I was a kid because I was really shy. But I think it helped build a lot of confidence. I think also, you know, and this is probably something more so for themselves. Maybe for you as a father, it could be like not letting them feel comfortable all the time. Like, you can't always just be in your comfort zone. You know, speaking in public is not something that most people like to do. I do it a lot, but I don't like now. I'm used to it, but at first it was really, especially with anxiety, like it was a really hard thing for me to do. But I had to keep doing it in order to be comfortable in it, you know. And so it's not my comfort zone. You know, you asked earlier about like on my Instagram, and there's videos of me and stuff, and like I don't like doing videos of myself. I don't like doing pictures. But I have to. Like, that was a really hard battle for me with my practice, and having like my marketing and PR people would be like, no, well, your practice is you. It's your name. It's got to be your face. You know, we can't just show your logo all the time or whatever. Like, it's got to be you. And people really want that as an attorney. People want to see you.
What were your thoughts? Because we talked about that, right? I know you're really close to Alex, that she's always there in front of the camera. Like, she has no problem with that. But your take, it's a little bit different, right? Even though you force yourself, but yet you're not at that place that meaning active on social media, right? Yeah. What is right now the things that you still like? What, first of all, maybe you don't believe in that strategy. Maybe that can be it. You know what? I'm taking a different strategy. Or I do know that strategy works, but I have issues still posting, talking, doing them, my image. Is that
no? That's exactly what it is. No, I think you have to be like constant with social media, and like for Alex, her social media is great. I mean, she's constantly posting, she constantly has stuff up. For me, a lot of it is, I really don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like being in the spotlight. It is a little bit harder for me. Like, even if I just do a selfie or video, like that takes a lot out of me to do it, and then I don't like it, or I critique it or whatever. But that's also too, like, getting good with yourself and just being like, you know what, it's out there and whatever. But it definitely works. It's just not for me. I like things to be natural. So some of my videos are more just like, you know, someone I'm comfortable with the camera, and we just kind of record stuff, and it happens more naturally. And yeah, if my makeup's done, even better. Like, I just like things to be natural. I don't like to force things too much. And if I were to be out there more, it would be a lot more forced for me.
At the beginning, though, right? Because it seems like you do agree that is a good strategy, that perhaps, again, I don't know if you're looking for more customers or your personal brand. Because, again, and the reason I'm going into this is because I have the same issue, right? I say that I don't care what people think, right? I say that all the time. But then I know I should be posting more. You know, like, I think that I do have a different take that people can benefit from, like the mindset, like the positive. And I really want, because I think I can help someone, but then I overthink stuff that, like, who's asking for this? And then, like, you're thinking too much of yourself. And again, like, I am caring what people say, right? Like I said, graduate marketing and advertising, and I know I can do much more for my brand, for my hair salon, but I don't. So I'm with you. That's why I'm going deep as far as, like, what is it that both of us can do? Because it's not like, oh, no, but I don't need it. Like, we both do. But yet, how can we get better at it?
Yeah, and, you know, it's always like a balance for me too, because sometimes I feel like I put myself out there too much. Like, I don't want to.
Do you feel that way?
I don't so much recently, because I've pulled back on a lot of my stuff, but I don't want to put everything out there, you know?
Why?
And so, I don't know. I feel like some stuff has to be private. That's why, like, I think I had actually told Tina, my wife, to put her stuff private, because I also, like, sometimes people too, you have to remember I do immigration. So, you know, there are people that hate out there. So we went through, there was like it was like a weird time. So you know when the shooting happened?
Yeah.
I had put a tweet out, and it was just something about, like, somebody had told me that people weren't going to get medical care because Border Patrol was one of the first people that was on the scene. And so people were scared to go get medical care because they didn't have like their documents, like they were illegal, right? And so I just randomly put on Twitter with, like, I had been on Twitter for like 4 months. I had like 5 followers, and I just tweeted something like, if anybody is in the hashtag El Paso, whatever area, needs medical care, like, give me a call, and I'm an immigration attorney, like, I'll go with you, like. And it was not even thinking like anything at the time, right? It got retweeted like I don't know how many times. Kim Kardashian retweeted it.
What?
I was getting like crazy messages, and it was crazy because
most of them are positive though, right?
No, well, it depended on the platform. So what was really weird was Twitter was really positive. Like, people were like, dude, that's awesome that you would offer that. And are like people asking, are you really an immigration attorney? And then getting a lot of people like asking for, hey, can you help me with my immigration status? And it was like, dude, like, you know, and then Facebook was a lot of negativity. Like, you're trying to benefit off these people, with me not even thinking in my mind, like, I would charge people. Like, I was genuinely saying, like, I will go help you, like, not even thinking that, you know. And then people were like, how you're benefiting off these people. People were like, oh, you're an immigration attorney, you're a cockroach, like things like that were really crazy. Yeah, it got a little bit crazy because it was just like a lot of attention at once.
You had to, for something that was not your intent at all. You were just, and then how did you deal with that?
So it was kind of like, it was a good reality check, because for me it was like, okay, I do immigration. Like, I have to think about that there are people who don't like what I do, you know, and there's always going to be people that don't like you as a person. And so that kind of made me like, yeah, you know, there's some stuff that you just shouldn't be out there about your life. And so I think it kind of made me hyper aware of like putting everything out there all the time. And people have access to everything on social media. So it was a little bit of a scary situation. For the most part, it was positive, but there were a couple ones that were just like really nasty that you were like, I don't want these people knowing about my life or knowing, you know, everything about me. So
wow, so interesting. Okay, thank you so much for sharing this again. Porque first of all, I feel bad that all the research I did, no idea about that tweet that you had.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like
it was kind of crazy. And then it was just like, I don't even know, it was like 4 million tweets or retweets or shares and likes, and like it was like, dude,
did you get some business from it?
Well, there's always like that name recognition and brand building, you know. So I don't know.
I feel so bad que no. Like my research no salió nada.
Yeah, I definitely. It's also I have like probably if you go to my Twitter page, you would see it on there, but I don't even have it pinned to the top anymore. Like it was pinned at the top of my Twitter, and I just don't use Twitter that much. Like honestly, I think too, I'm kind of at the point in my career where I'm like, I'm not like actively seeking like clients, you know what I mean? Like, we're so busy as it is, and people, thank God, I kind of already have kind of a following with my clients, and it kind of snowballs from, hey, my cousin needs help, and blah blah blah, you know. So that really does happen. And so yeah, we're blessed at this point where I'm not like, I'm not trying to be out there, I think. So that's kind of too why on social media I've pulled back a little bit, and also keep stuff a little bit close to the chest, because there are some stuff that I think you shouldn't put out there. And there's not a lot in my life that's not out there, but yeah, some stuff should be private.
Interesting, because if you recall, like right before we started, I said, you know, the one goal that I have for you is, because even though you have a lot of things in your Instagram, there's a lot of things, but you know, usually I'm able to see, like after like a lot of posts, like what type of personality they have, what type of person they are. And now with you, like I was like, okay, you know, so of course everything again makes sense now.
Yeah, so there is a little private.
There is.
That's good. I mean, I just feel like you can't put everything out there, you know? Like, there's still got to be a little mystery, and you still have to kind of be your own person. And I don't know, that it's a hard balance.
I feel that way 100%, but I also feel that even at the professional level, just like the non-personal things, you know, and I know that we should be sharing much more than we are. Like, you know what I mean? So again, the personal, I agree, there is some stuff that I don't want, especially like relationship stuff that perhaps later on it's gonna backfire. I follow a lot of people on Facebook que sus novios están ahorita that the love of their life, and then in 2 months ya no, and then in a month another. And again, nothing against them. Well, actually, it is against them. But that self-awareness, espérate, like that is intelligence. That I'm not saying that you by not posting that, but that you labeling someone el amor de tu vida que ya te vas a casar, and then another one. A lot of people say it's just Facebook. No, it's not Facebook. It is 100% you. Whatever you post, whatever you do, why not just own it? Y te digo, there's nothing wrong with it. Just own it. No nomás like call it separate. I know this is this and this is that. Everything we do is you, me, you know. Pero bueno, interesting. Before we get into Cash Bar, because I have so many questions, and I wanted to tell you before, but okay, no, más esperar, because I want to open up a bar. It's been kind of like it's a guy's thing to open a bar, and I'll tell you what some of the plans that I have for you. But before I do, let's talk a little bit about the LGBT plus Q plus community. I know you created the El Paso Queer Legal System. What is the proper name? I'm sorry.
The El Paso Queer Bar Association.
This was 2 years ago, a year ago?
Oh, gosh. No, well, I think at this point, with COVID, I feel like everything's off. I want to say that it's been probably like 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. 5 probably.
President and founder. Tell me why, what is it? Is there a need for it? Was there a need back then? Maybe not too much. Talk to us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so most of the cities, so when I came to El Paso, I was really shocked that we didn't have an LGBT bar association. So the bar associations are like, so for example, there's a female bar association, there's a Hispanic bar association, and they're basically bar associations for attorneys. They're like professional associations for attorneys. And usually, you know, like I said, there's a female, there's Hispanic, there's a Young Lawyers Association, but there wasn't an LGBT one here in El Paso. And so, kind of got a group together, and most of us are allies. What
does it mean, allies?
Allies means they don't necessarily identify as LGBT plus, but they just like help. But there was a really big need for it. I think there's still a big need for it. We're trying to be a little bit more active, but with COVID, it kind of put a damper on a lot of our activities. But yeah, I founded the organization, and I'm the current president, and this past year we did a run for Pride. It actually started at Cash and kind of went around the block, and it was just kind of like a fun event to kind of bring the community together. And I think El Paso really needs like that positivity, and seeing that, you know, there are professionals in the LGBT organization. I think it's really important to be visible and be out, because me as a kid growing up, like, I didn't see that necessarily. And so I think it's really important for young people who do identify, being able to see that you can be a professional, you can have, like, for me, I didn't think that I could get married and have a happy life, and like the white picket fence and all that to me was like not something that was possible, you know, identifying with the community. And so, so I try to be out and let people know that I am, and I'm still happy, and, you know, you can be a professional and you can be taken seriously, and you can have all the things that you want to have, and be LGBT plus Q2S and whatever else you identify as.
Very well said, because you said like there is a need for it, right? Of course, because you said first of all, when coming to El Paso, there was not such community for that. But what are, and again, you just share that, but what are some goals, like your priorities when it comes to that? Is it for other people to be okay being part of the community? Is that one of your major goals? Is it that you can be a professional? That what are some of the goals for this? Yeah,
I think visibility is definitely the biggest thing. We kind of started the organization with the hope of bringing together the professionals that are, and attorneys that are LGBT, and kind of creating these resources for the community, like identifying what needs the community has, and then kind of preparing attorneys to meet those needs. And we have a long way to go. There is a lot of work we have to do with the organization, but yeah, that's kind of the goal, is to what are the needs the community has? How can we identify those needs, and how can we prepare attorneys in order to meet those needs? And so that's kind of what we try to do.
It's a lot, right? Now, yesterday, as I was prepping, not only that I prepped for several days, but as I was doing my research, I, with my daughter, said, you know what? I have this question, but I don't know if there's, first of all, if I should ask it, if there's a way to position it a little bit different. Just like I said, English is my second language. So estoy pensando algo. Digo, okay, maybe not this way. But as you've been open today, I do want to ask you, being part of the community, being gay, I don't know, since if this is something from childhood, how difficult has it been being a professional and also being gay? Again, I know that you don't, based on your Instagram account, you don't share, your wife is there, but you don't share like actively, right? So in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if there is something, because, hey, I am a professional, and even though LGBT community, the support is there, but at the same time, maybe this has impacted with what you do right now.
Well, I think there was definitely a point where I kind of had to make a decision, like, am I out or am I not out with it publicly, because I think I'm very blessed in that I have a supportive family, that we are in El Paso, and El Paso is very supportive. I was kind of surprised by how supportive El Paso is. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a conscious decision to be like, okay, am I out there with my relationship in my life, or is this something that I keep private? And I think ultimately it was like, you have to be who you are. And it's not like I'm going to hide my wife or hide my relationship or something like that. So, but yeah, it definitely plays into, it's not that it makes things harder, but I think, being LGBT, especially for trans, like for people that are trans, it's not an easy life. Sometimes when people say like, oh, well, you chose to be gay, it's like, we don't choose this life. Like, this is just how we are, and we're born like this, and we don't choose it because it's easy. It's not an easy life. Like, these are things that we have to decide, because there are biases, and I do have to think about, how are people going to perceive me? Does that mean I lose clients? Does that mean I gain more clients? Those are things we have to think about. And so it's not like they're easy. It's easy lifestyles. Trans people are always in danger. Like, they face a lot of domestic violence and things like that. And so, so it's not, those are things that you have to think about. But I don't think it's made it harder to be a professional. I think if anything, like, I have more perspective on things. I think I can identify with other minorities a little bit more. But I think I've just been really, really blessed to have a supportive family and a supportive community.
Is there room for improvement? Because I also share with you, as far as, at the community, we, for the most part, but is there room for us to, here in El Paso, common folks, like, to be, I don't know if more supportive, but to be different?
I think El Paso is very supportive, but I think at the same time, it's like kind of a distant support. Like it's not like aggressively anti, but at the same time, I mean, I will forever be an advocate for trans, because the trans community really started the LGBT movement. And like I said, the trans community faces so much discrimination, so much violence. So I always think that there's improvements that can be made for the trans community. But
is there a large trans community here in El Paso?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know comparison wise to like other communities, but yeah, there's a big. We actually have amazing drag queens. Like, if you ever get to see a show, the drag queens in El Paso are amazing. But the trans community, yeah, I always think that there's room for growth with the trans community, but that's everywhere, not just El Paso.
And going back to that particular thing again, and not talking about trans specifically, or being gay in this case, it's more on empathy overall. Like, even going back to the Trump thing that we were talking about, or immigrant or not, just having empathy. Once you have empathy, bro, like that opens so much things. And I know we're going a little bit off subject, but I think it's the same exact thing. I don't know if you like Bad Bunny or not, right? There was a recent concert that people were paying $700, $800. And I saw a lot of Facebook hate that, oh, if you like Bad Bunny, first of all, you like crap. Like, it's the worst of the worst, number one. And how would you, like, why do you spend $500, $700 on that? But there were comments, like, hating on that, right? And in my take on it, like, I wouldn't pay. I didn't go. I wouldn't pay a certain amount. I like them to a certain extent, but not $500, like, right? But you cannot judge someone by what they like, right? And I see, like, a lot that with reggaeton, with Bad Bunny music, with corridos, with rancheros, that people really quick to say nacos. Again, most of my friends are Mexicans, by the way. That's why I'm saying is that they're all like, oh, if you like banda, you're naco. Or if you like Bud Bunny, you're like the worst. And like, and again, not just general, but those are the people that first of all didn't go to college. Not that I care about, but it's because you're making it seem like you're the top of the top, right? And again, all it is that we cannot judge someone, but what you like. If I like Bud Bunny to pay $2,000, ¿qué crees? That's your case.
Yeah.
And I think it translates exactly to tolerance to gay people, to trans. Bro, I understand that that's your thing. Like, I don't share it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't maybe X. But the fact is that that's you, and that has to have empathy. Once you have empathy on other things, so it's good. You're going to be good. But I think it translates so much into that. Because again, once you see people, they're not only like people that hate that we're talking trash crap about Bunny Loco. Like, no, but it's not only that. It's also that you have hard opinions on immigration, on Trump. And not that there's nothing wrong with that. But at least just, hey, by the way, this is my opinion. And I know there's another side. Like show some empathy on it. And it all goes back to that. And again, like, how supported are we? Just depends of how many people have empathy or not. And I agree with you. Even though we're supportive, meaning that we're not anti, like we don't hate on. But at the same time, I wonder if people like, but I get it. I get it. And for that, again, that comes to your parents, how they raised you, how they were raised. It's a lot of things, right? But I think it goes back to that, having empathy. Once you have that, no pasa nada, you know?
Yeah, El Paso too. I feel like a lot of people here really like to pull each other down instead of lifting each other up. And I think that's also kind of like the culture. And I don't know. I think we tend to do that to each other a lot. Instead of, I feel like I get more support. I get a lot of support from like my female friends. And I think we're really good about being female supportive and stuff like that. But I think El Paso in general, like we kind of like to pull each other down instead of lifting each other up.
Why is that?
I have no idea.
If you were to think of one. Like, I know, like we say culturally, right? And I think that is kind of right. But how, okay, maybe not why, but how can we fix it?
Well, I think it goes back to that whole like the mentality and the mentality of scarcity where it's like there's only so much out there and I want it and you have it, and kind of like hating on each other, the thing, instead of being like there's so much out there and coming from a place of like abundance. I think it's definitely a mindset in El Paso.
I think so. And I didn't share this with you, but when I started this, I still have, in a sense, like a different project going on. My idea and my take on it as far as how to fix it, and I'm telling you this because I had a lot of time to think about this, is that a lot of people miss that different perspective, right? We cannot control who our parents were, like, or who our parents are. We can't control the circumstances that we were born with, right? If you were white, black, if you had money or not, if you, whatever. And unfortunately, like, your parents have traumas, right? And they do not know better. And they pass it to us. So the biggest lottery that we can win is who we have as parents, right? So going back to kind of like the project, what I think that a lot of people need, it's a different perspective, right? Like, I get it that your parents maybe were not the right perspective, but what about if you were to hear someone like yourself, like Alex, like, I don't know, like Chelsea, like someone that just has a different perspective, woman empowerment, different things on like the way you view life at 15, at 20.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that there's going to be a seed. There's going to be something. As you get older, I mean, it's hard to, I mean, you have it your way. So even if I give you the best talk ever, you're going to be like, nonsense, right? But at right age, I think that once you get a different perspective and you really see that they're happy, you're like, okay, maybe I don't agree 100% and it's not like I'm going to change. Oh, okay, well now. But just hearing that different perspective, right? So my take on this is like offering people a different perspective, and hopefully later on I can do that, a different perspective on different things. Yeah. And again, I based a lot of things on my friends and the people that I follow. And I'm like, you know what? This person that is getting married for the 5th time in 3 years, not that, if that's how you feel, that's fine. But they have to hear a different perspective from someone on how to either trust, post, public. I have I don't have the best example for that right now, but there is. If you notice someone that you think right now they're not in a good place, yeah, you can blame them for hating, for not working hard enough, for being huevones. Yes, for a lot of things. But then you look at their family and you're like, oh, pues sí, pero de dónde? Like, the truth is that, like, you're asking this guy to be at this level, but then they grew up at this level. And not that, oh, pobrecitos, they're always right. But there has to be a balance, some empathy that says, okay, not everything is their fault, right?
Yeah, well, that goes back to the, like, naive, where you haven't been exposed to anything other than what you know. Yeah.
Pero bueno, enjoy that conversation. Te digo que I get passionate about some stuff y luego me voy en mis viajes, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. And we're back from our break. Sorry. I had to go to the restroom. My bad. It's the first time in 28 episodes that I have to go to
Take a break.
Yeah, that I had to take a break. So anything else we want to add? I just think that it's so important. And again, I'm a single parent. My daughter tells me all these stories from like from her friends. I'm like, oh, that really sucks. And then when I ask about their parents, when there's something negative, they have this issue, they have the other one. And if you really want to blame the parents, it's not their fault. It's just the way, so the biggest lottery, it is who our parents are, because based on that, there's so many things. Of course, you have the people, and you have this all the time, that maybe they were not born to the great family. They were born with very poor circumstances, but then they make it. Yeah, but that is 5% out of 100, right? Yeah. So if there is a way to impact others, that'll be great. Yeah. And I know maybe I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to talk about, like, for example, there's a social media account, right? And I think it's very fun. It's one that El Paso, like, it's the most popular Instagram account in El Paso, right? There's news and, let me hear from this source first, right? Yeah. And again, I really like it. I follow it. I love it. Oh, by the way, with Tommy, which if you're listening to this, you guys did me wrong. There was talking about his salary, right? My take was that I was kind of like defending that based on the value that he brings X, right? But then there was a take that they, like a picture, like a still picture of me, like having a face like this. I'm like, these guys, they could have picked a better picture. But bueno, going back to the issue, the one thing that I recommend that I really don't like is that the majority of the followers for that account are high school people, middle school, high school people. And if you notice the account, 8 out of 10 posts are negative. Alguien se robó algo, someone did something wrong. And again, of course you have to, like, that is funny, especially the take that they put it on. It's funny. But then when you look at comments, right? The comments, most of them, ay, El Paso otra vez. Ay, El Paso this, or ay, El Paso wrong again, or and the problem with that is that, like, for you or for me, like, hey, like, we can see that and we understand that there's, like, that is something that you show, but that's not the big picture, and you get it, right? But teens, middle school, high school, if they see 9 out of 10 posts something negative about our city, about, like, whoever, ¿qué crees what's in their brain? Pues El Paso is crap. Yeah. And that's the thing that I'm teaching my daughter to as much as possible. Like, espérame. The truth is that there's a different perspective. There's a different way. Of course, they're not going to highlight people like yourself or other the things. They do highlight positive, but based on comparison, it's not even close, right? But why is it? Because they want to sell, right? That's what sells. And of course, if I'm the owner of that, I would do the same thing. Well, bueno, let me take it back. Maybe not the same way. But the truth is that I understand the reason why. But most of our young people ven todo eso y ¿qué piensan? Que El Paso is crap. That El Paso is full of people like the ones that they showcase. And that's my issue with that. So that's why another reason I'm doing this podcast, just for people to know about other people like doing pretty cool stuff, that they're pretty cool people. Now, am I or stuff like this gonna have the same audience, the same eyeballs? Claro que no, of course not. But that's how hopefully like you can change or you can influence somebody's perspective little by little.
Yeah. And it is super important. I think we're on the same page with travel, and people underestimate how important travel is, because you have to get out of your bubble and you have to see other perspectives. And yeah, so we're on the same page with that for sure.
Nice. Thank you so much. But I want to thank you for your time. I know, again, I didn't ask you if you had a heart stop or anything. I never do, because if there is, like, I get nervous when, okay, well, let me see what questions to ask. But definitely we need to talk about Johnny Cash Bar. Now, Cash Bar only. I'm assuming there's something with the name that you have to rename it to Cash. First of all, you opened this in 2020. mid-pandemic.
Yeah.
Why and how and yeah, talk to us about. I know you like music, but I don't think your like of music it's good enough for you to own a bar.
Yeah. So I've been in the industry, so a lot of people don't know. Everyone thinks it's kind of like it came out of nowhere. I've been in the industry since I was 17 years old. My first job was actually at Hudson's, across from Hank's. So I started there when I was 17 as a hostess, and then I became a server, and then I've been in the industry pretty much since then. I bartended and served my way through college, and law school even. So I've been in the industry forever. When I came back to El Paso, I really wanted to open a place. I was really frustrated at the time with, and even still, the service at a lot of places. So I've been wanting to do it for a really long time. And then, yeah, I think it was just kind of a combination of a lot of things happening at the same time. You know, the pandemic, immigration, everything at the immigration office kind of just slowed down a little bit, where things just kind of slowed. And I was just feeling really like that anxiety again, where it was like, I got to do something. I want to do something else. And so
did you know it was a bar, or you knew it was something else, but you did not know what?
I've been wanting to do a bar for a really long time. Yeah, a bar and restaurant had been in the works for a long time. There was a period when I was trying to do like a wine bar thing, and it just wasn't, it was feeling a little forced at the time, so I kind of let it go. And then everything just kind of aligned with Cash. And so, yeah, it used to be Johnny Cash, and now it's just Cash. And yeah, everything just kind of lined up to
why opening a bar? Like I get it that you always wanted to open a bar, but and like I said, I want to open a bar. I think that's a guy thing, that having your own place to drink. But what was it? Was it like you always wanted to have a bar because of the significance of being a bar owner? What was it?
Well, it's just what I know. You know, It's the industry I know.
It's fun atmosphere. You like that?
For me, it honestly was just it's probably the one thing I know more than even practicing law. Like being in it since I was 17, I knew the ins and outs. I've worked in so many places. Like I couldn't even probably tell you the number of different places that I've worked at. In El Paso, I used to work at Aceitunas in the summer, and that would be like my summer job in college.
And it was a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But for me, it wasn't really like about the fun. I mean, I definitely... it's a good change from practicing law, but it really is just like an industry I know. And one of the things that's really frustrating for me is everyone kind of thinks that it was like off the wall, like, why did you do this? Or, you know, what do you even know about it? Or a DJ the other day, who's like super condescending, was like, I've been in the industry for 12 years. I was all like, okay, well, good for you, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's an industry that I just really know inside and out. And so for me, it was like kind of a point of frustration that like there were places in El Paso that I was just like, dude, I can't even get a drink when you go there. Why do so many people go there, you know? And so I was like, well, I can do this better. I can have a place that's better than this. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. And then it was also just, yeah, like things were slow at the law practice, that it was like, right now is the time that I can do it. I can like kind of dedicate to it. And, you know, before we opened, it was like being there every day, painting and, you know, doing the actual construction and stuff like that. And I had the time to do it that would probably have never been able to do if it wasn't for COVID. So everything just kind of lined up. And it was one of those things where I was just like, let's pull the trigger, let's do it.
And it brings you so much happiness having a project, working on it, right? Having that.
I love it. Yeah. I'm definitely, like I said, like an entrepreneur at heart. Like I really enjoy building a business. Yeah. That's fun for me.
Wow. Now, back to what you said, that people thought like, hey, like out of an immigration law, you're opening a bar. But that once you, again, we haven't interacted before this, but looking at your Instagram account, like, no, I know about Pele Entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. Which at first I thought it was after the soccer player, like, oh, because I'm a soccer fan. Yeah. And it wasn't, it wasn't that. But then music lawyer, like there is a reason why. I mean, the flow of everything in your life that has happened, right?
Everything is really coming full circle. Like I do feel like everything has kind of come full circle because, you know, we're able to have now a platform that musicians can play at. There's so many bands that I would love to have play. Like when I did have bands, we did a summer concert series last summer, and it was just so freaking cool to be like, this is my bar and this is a band that I want playing, and like it just felt really good. Like it was totally full circle, so it was really cool.
The coolest thing that you have done, and I'm only saying this because I'm a cowboy fan. I remember, again, we're neighbors here, huh? So on Sundays, I used to see, I don't know if a flag, but a banner that, or even on social media about the
ugly
official
49ers.
49er fan club, no sé qué. And then what I noticed, because I also follow Cash Bar, that no, here's where the Cowboys fan are at. I'm like, I could just hear or imagine that conversation with someone from 49ers that, ¿qué crees, bro? Like, I have good news and bad news.
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about that. Was it fun telling them that, hey, you're no longer welcome here? It has to be a little bit.
I would love to say that we kicked them out. Like, I would love to say that, but that's not actually what happened. They did me dirty.
Oh.
So when I took over, they came to me and they told me, well, you know, like, the 49ers have been here for a long time. Do you want to keep the 49ers? And I was like, well, you know, if this is their home, yeah, I'm open to it. You know, business is business. They bring in business. Like, that's cool. And we sat down and we had talks. Like, this was even before we even opened the place, you know,
Okay.
I think. And I told them, you know, you guys are so welcome here, and, you know, everything to make you guys comfortable, and what can we do? And, you know, business is business, man. So if you guys bring in people, like, we're cool. I am a diehard Cowboys fan. Like, my dad is a diehard Cowboys fan. My family's diehard Cowboys fans. But yeah, this is your home, you know, you guys are so welcome here. And then 2 weeks before, and they sat down with me, looked me in the eye. I'm loyal. We are loyal to you. All these other places are trying to steal us, blah, 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 blah. 2 weeks before the season started, they left us. And at first I was like, damn, like 2 weeks before the season starts. But honestly, that's why, like, again, like, everything happens for a reason, man. Like, and so when it happened, it was like, damn, well, what are we going to do now? Like, we're 2 weeks before the season starts. But we were just really, really blessed to find a Cowboys group that was looking for a bar. And it's just been, like, harmony. Like, they're so chill. The crowd is just, like, our vibe. And it was just, like, it was divine timing. Like, everything was just good. Everything in that place is, like, right now, I feel like the spirits are clean. The karma is good there right now. And
The food is delicious, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Your nachos are pretty good.
Yeah, and then we have the dollar tacos on Tuesday. You have to come on for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. And honestly, it's like, it just, like, warms my heart when I get there and I see, like, the Cowboys flags outside. Like, it's great. It's good.
Yeah.
So
typical 49er
so it wasn't
fans, right?
Yeah,
Betraying. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, they literally sat down, looked me in the eye. We're loyal, you know. And so, yeah. So I would like to say that we kicked them out, but that's actually not what happened. They left us.
I would have loved if the story was like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it went that way. But bueno, now let's go back to you. I mean, you still had this passion for bar. I see that, but you opened it in COVID. Like, this is 2020 when, you know what, we don't know if we're gonna live tomorrow or not, right? So I'm sure you had a lot of doubts. I'm sure, knowing a little bit about you now, you thought about this for a long time. Not opening the bar, but okay, do I open it now? Do I open it this location? Do I open this particular one, right? What was your process there? What happened? Walk us through as far as what made you pull the trigger there.
I'm a big believer in, like, letting things happen when they're supposed to happen, and kind of going with my intuition. And
you know, that contradicts a lot of the things that you have said. And I'm sorry to interrupt you because, like, I understand that, pero cuando me dices about your history, and maybe that's right now, like, espérame, that's something doesn't make sense.
Like what?
Well, first of all, anxiety, overthinking, like,
Yeah.
that tells me that, oh, espérame, like, not that I go with my gut, like, that I have to a lot. And now you tell me, oh, but I just thought about it, lo quería.
Well, maybe I have to be like that because of the anxiety. Like, I have to let things happen when they're supposed to happen,
Okay.
or else, like, it makes me more anxious. I don't know.
So
maybe
what
you're right.
happened in 2020? I'm sorry.
So it was just everything just kind of lined up. It was kind of like this combination of wanting to do this, the location being available. I felt good about the space. Like, walking in there, the vibes and stuff, it just felt good. I felt like there was so much potential for growth in that space. And in the location that we're at in the city, I mean, we're one of the most populated zip codes, like, in the country, densely populated. So, yeah, it felt right. It was really hard because COVID is something you just cannot plan for. Like, as a business person, it's just so, there was nothing that we could do to say, okay, yeah, we know we've got this for 3 more months or whatever. So that was definitely a big, big variable. And I talked to my wife about it a lot. but I mean, ultimately everything just felt right. So that was kind of, and I think too, like we were in Texas, so it was a really really hard time for me because my wife is in the healthcare industry. And then at the same time it was like it's this industry where people gather, so that was
People
kind of
drinking
hard.
El Paso, I mean, okay.
Yeah, and we do want more people there. I mean, that's ultimately sales, and so, but then it's kind of going against everything with COVID and people being together. So it was kind of a really hard balance to reconcile, but we tried to do everything really safe, like from the get-go with the build outs and stuff like that. It was always kind of in the back of my mind, and I felt that this was going to be long term. People were going to feel like they wanted to be in places where they were safe, and a lot of places weren't really catering to that. So we kind of tried to come from that place when we first started opening, like before we opened and we're doing some of the construction. So we like separated out some of the booths. We really focused on the patio. And so, yeah, I did kind of feel like it was going to be a long term and we were going to have a lot of PTSD from COVID. And so I kind of went into it with that mindset. But yeah, it was really hard to reconcile. It was almost like two different parts of my brain because, I'm not
You were
trying.
hearing these stories about what's happening in our city, and then, hey, I want people to come to my place.
Yeah, and then you're hearing like, oh, well, the hospital, and then my wife literally like is at the hospital, like seeing the hallways full of people, and then being like, okay, well, and then we're opening a bar, So it was hard to reconcile that in my head and in my brain, and I had to kind of wrap my hands around it. But the best way that we felt to do it was to like create a safe space and make sure that people felt safe in there. But honestly, what we just started to find, and I don't know if it's just an El Paso thing, but people just like wanted to go out and be around people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What has been the biggest challenge? I know that you have like work in the industry, that you know a lot of things already, but once you own it, what has been the biggest challenge so far?
I think I've learned a lot about myself. Yeah, just kind of like patience with other people, and kind of like
you already had employees, right, at your firm, of course, right? And you dealt with, hey, like deadlines and stuff like that. But what was different with dealing with people in a bar?
Well, first of all, it's a big space, so we have a lot more employees. I mean, I went from having like 6 employees to having like 30 employees, so it was a lot. Yeah. But I think I had to learn a lot of patience with myself and patience with other people, because for me, like in my head, it would be like, okay, I want service to be at 100, but it's like we don't have any servers that are already trained. We have to train them up, and then that takes time, and you have to be patient with it. So little things like that. So I think I learned a lot about myself from opening this business for sure.
Yeah. What specifically is it? Patience? Is it dealing with other people? Is it accepting that there's some stuff that you're just not going to be able to fix at the moment? Is it everything? I mean, I'm a business owner, and of course, it's a learning. I mean, it's a learning thing day by day. But what has been like, this is it. The one thing I had to adapt.
I think honestly it was patience, because I am like that anxious type person that's like, okay, no, like I want all my servers to be on it all the time, and it's like, it takes time to get there. We need to train them the way that we want them to serve. Patience with other people, and also like I don't just you see the people that support you. Like I have a lot of friends that are super super supportive, and then I have some people that will have a party somewhere else, and I'm like, why are you not having a party at my bar?
Don't tell me you think that way, because I have a really good take on it. I'm not gonna say it right now, but okay. Really?
Yeah, and it's like, and then it just has to be like, you know what? It's okay. Don't take it personal. Like, there's a lot of other places in El Paso, and you know what? Sometimes people don't support you, even though you support them. And people are going to support you the way that they want to support you. And even sometimes too, like, egos. There's a lot of egos in this industry. A lot of other bar owners, and most of them are male. That are your supposed friends that maybe don't support you or don't necessarily want you to succeed, and it's like, you just kind of have to brush it off, and kind of patience and not letting your ego get in the way of things. Wow. So I think those are two big things that I've kind of had to learn about myself.
We really need to stay in touch after this, because I have so many different takes on so many different things that you just said. I'm like, well, but in my head, like, no, espérate, cállate la boca.
Okay, but tell me your take on people going to...
Okay, let me, coste, lo pediste, eh? So, and this is because I saw a post on Facebook, I even save them, today or yesterday. Close friends que dicen, it's easier to make a customer your friend than your friend to be your customer.
Yeah.
Espérame, no me digas porque I'm going to go off on this.
Yeah.
100% true. Mm-hmm. But overall, that's a positive thing. Let me tell you. That's, again, my opinion, right? Like, I have a hair salon, and I have some friends that come and a lot more that don't, right? But that is something that I 100%, not even once, digo, ¿por qué no van a cortarse? Not even once. Because there's so many factors that you do not know. And if I put myself in the perspective that that's a negative, you will find a negative. But in reality, that can be a positive. Like, for example, right now I'm short-staffed, right? So I cannot have full service. La neta, I wouldn't want them with the service that maybe we provided, that maybe they have to wait longer, or maybe they had a haircut that it wasn't to my standards. So, ¿sabes qué? I'm glad that happened, right? If a girl wants to do the hair with somebody else, ¿sabes qué? At this point, no pasa nada. Like, I 100% get it. And maybe I have to separate our friendship. This is our friendship, and this is our... And I'm sure you even have a lot of business owner friends that you just don't go to their shop, coffee shop. You don't go to their bars, their libraries. I don't know. You tell me. But is it because you don't think of them, because you envy them, or because of you have hate, or because you don't want to support them? No. It's just that maybe that other person provides better service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a video, which I'm not going to do based on what we said. That, espérame, like, if you have that mindset, first of all, I never open up this place thinking, oh, my friends and family are going to come. Never. Because if you do open a place thinking of that, yeah, valistes. Because don't. But if you have that, you know what that is, in my opinion? That's just an excuse. If I'm thinking that, sabes que maybe I'm not doing as well because my friends are support, that's just an excuse for your lack of execution somewhere else.
Yeah.
So my take on it is like, and you can tell me that's just a Facebook post. No, but that's just the way you think, right? Like, maybe for example, my taxes. I have a very close friend that does taxes, has a tax company. I don't do my taxes with him. Why? I personally, money, like, no quiero que nadie sepa cuánto gano. There's just something, una trauma que tuve from when I was small, whatever it is. But do I love my friend? I love him, and I will do anything else. Yeah. And we have different ways to show our support. Maybe I'm not going to go to business, but if he calls me at 4 a.m, hey, recógeme, ¿qué crees? I'm going to go pick him up.
Yeah, of course.
So that's how I feel about that particular thing. So, and then I have another take on envy, if you want to talk a little bit about hate, that I have chosen to believe that hate doesn't exist. Envy. When people say, oh, haters, don't listen to the haters. Okay, unless they do something physically, like que te peguen, que te trauen, que te hablen, something, like, for sure. But if these are just thoughts and words, my take in is, I don't believe in it. I 100% believe, and I'm being honest with you, I have never thought that someone, oh, es que he hates on me. Like, I have cool things going on in my life. I have done several cool things, but I have never once said, oh, es que tiene envidia. No, the envidia, I choose to think that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Unless it's physical, que me haga algo, que me digan algo. Oh, of course, right? But if it's just thoughts, or because he didn't like a post, or because he doesn't come and cut his hair at all.
Yeah.
And I think that contributes to how happy I am. Going back to your piece, I even talk to people that owe me money. Like, para que veas, like, I'm not stupid. I won't lend the money again. Pero todavía no pasa nada. You know what?
Yeah.
Nothing like that. And a lot of people say, es que tú te pasas de buena onda. You know what? So far has served me. Like, to be honest, I'm at the right place. I'm a happy person, 100%. No, I'm not lying. I'm like, you have no idea how happy I am. Do I smile all the time? No es por eso. It's just back to what you said. The fulfillment that from recording you, from meeting you, from talking to you, this is something that, this is really good. And I'm going to take back, right? Yeah. In moments like this, and when there's something negative, no pasa nada. You know, and that's what makes it, and that's my take on that.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Well, and even if it does exist, it's not your problem, right? I mean, it's not I think was my wife who said something like, and it's from somewhere else, that like anger is like a hot rock, or like a, not necessarily anger, but like hatred, anything like that is like a hot rock that you hold in your hands, and it's only just burning you. It's not doing anything to the person that you're feeling that towards. So yeah, I mean, that's not your problem, even if it does exist, right? It's that person's problem. So.
I had this conversation with several friends. Les digo, okay. Les digo, I choose not to believe that envy exists. Y me dice, estás tonto, pendejo, like, what? Les digo, okay, I need you to help me with this. Is there any negative, is there any downside of me thinking, of me choosing? Is there anything that you can say, by you choosing not to believe in hate, or I'm sorry, envy, tell me what will be an actual result, negative result that I'm going to get. And then they start thinking like, pues no, like unless it's physical, pero like by me choosing that there is no envy, there's no haters, like, is that wrong? But I cannot think of one thing that, oh, espérame, if you think this way, this might happen to you. No, because unless
well, you choose to believe in your own mind that envy doesn't exist, which it doesn't.
It's that, you know, like there's so many things on that.
Well, then that's one of the things that it talks about in that book that I'm telling you about. It talks about, you know, when you're feeling that like anger or jealousy or something towards somebody else, you have to turn it around, and that's the self-talk, because if you're thinking that, you're coming from a place of scarcity, like I'm jealous that you have this success, because that means that there's only so much success out there. Instead, I need to wish you more love and more success, because there's so much success out there.
Yeah, you know what has helped me a lot as well? That frame of thought, but another one as well. Like me choosing which positive trait that I think I have, and my perspective thinking about that. Déjame te doy una idea. I had people here that are even millionaires, to be honest with you. I like very successful things, right? But when I have a conversation like that, and with happiness y todo, veo que, ¿sabes qué? La verdad, like, I'm happiness. Like, I'm happier than this person, right? Even though you might seem like successful, I'm happier. And in my book of life, happiness is what matters the most. So in my book, I'm more successful. And with that said, te digo, I choose to think that's the metric to kind of like based on that. And because of that, that allows me to, again, a lo mejor estoy mal. I'm sure, maybe if I based it on maybe I'm wrong, but if by me choosing to focus on the trait that you're good at, it's serving me well. Because to me, I'm like, ¿sabes qué? Esta persona puede tener, but to be honest, I'm in a better place in my book. But I know that what I'm doing, I'm choosing to think my perspective. Because if I go to my perspective out, you know what? Happiness or success is going to be money-wise or position. Me falta mucho, so I shouldn't be happy. Then I'm choosing to suffer. Okay, so again, everything, it's a choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everything, it's a choice, so at least I'm making the right choice that it's serving me. And I try this. Digo, it's a work in progress. Claro que si veo a alguien very successful que tiene mi edad y todo, digo, oh, I should. But as far as envy, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely a way of weeding out, you know, your ride or dies. Like the people that do support me are definitely like, they're my ride or dies.
Don't? We go back to a point. What if your best friend doesn't go to your bar? Are they not supporting you?
It's not the end of the world, like honestly, but that's the thing, is that it's like your ego, you know. And so that's some of the things that I'm saying that I had to learn about myself, was like patience and not letting my ego get in the way. Because it's like, if they don't want to go hang out at my bar, it's nothing personal, you know. It's not against me. But yeah, the ones that do go are like hardcore. Like, I know those people freaking love me, you know.
And sometimes, you know what the best ones are? Like friends que a veces que vengo, like I'm not here 24/7, I'm here like twice a week or 3 times. Then I'm like, oh, I know you from work. Yeah, I'm a regular customer. Que yo ni sabía. But then there's others that will send me a picture of, oh, look where I am. And yeah. I'm sure you've seen that. Well, are you doing it to support me? Like 100%? And if yes, why are you needing that picture validation to, hey, I need you to see that I am here? So te digo, am I overthinking? Maybe, but the truth is that it was pretty cool. Like that guy, que, no, yo vengo aquí every Thursday or Wednesday or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Nunca me dijo, and that felt even better than the friend that sends me, look where I am cutting my hair. Thank you, of course. Pero, pues, is it forced now? Is it like, why do you want me to know? Like, are you really? Like, I have one of our very close friends that él no viene, no nada. And he's one of those that I really, he has a gambling problem, by the way. And I had to say that because that you know who I'm talking about. Nada de, like, I don't talk about him on business because he has a different mindset on goals, on growth mindset. Very different from me. But that's the only person that I would call at 4 a.m. if I'm drunk. That's the only person that I know that he will pick me up. Only friend. And I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then, is it fair for me to judge the others? No. Is it just different categories, different thing in showing empathy with everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pero bueno, otra vez me fui mi turn. I want to go back to the bar because I have an idea that I want to run by you. And you tell me if it's stupid, okay? Hopefully you can tell me. Like, I want to own a bar. Right? It's been in my mind, but I do not know if I want to own it because I know it's a good business, by the way. I look at the margins and go, oh, si esta cerveza te cuesta esto, and then you sell it for this, and then you sell this amount of, and then like I have done my math and stuff, right? So I really think that a successful business, of course, it's very profitable, right? And I'm like, I want to open up a bar next. But before I actually invest my money, my time, and everything else, I want to work as a bartender for, I don't know, 3-6 months, maybe longer, right? But I really want to be there, picking up the trash, doing everything. Of course, I'll be with the mindset of, okay, let me look at the profits, how much we made, how difficult is it with the employees, the bartenders, other folks. Like, do we have to have food? Do we not? Because I know now it's the kitchen, now it's the kitchen staff. There's so many things, right? And number one thing I want to know if I'm doing this just for the fun factor. What is the fun factor? To drink every day, basically, for you to have that fun. Or am I really doing it for, like, I'm here to learn. So I want to, like, yo no sé, but so that's why I want to work there. And I will still have my job, right, that I've been there for 15 years, which I love. I still want to have my hair salon, but I want to be just, págame $3. I don't know how much you pay your bartenders, but I don't know if it was more than the waitress at $3. But I'm okay kind of starting from the bottom because I want to do that.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah, we'll hire you at cash.
No me digas eso because I want to open a different profile bar, a little bit more Mexican. So I do want to go with that route. Or does it matter? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't matter.
I'm a big believer in being able to do anything within your business. Like even at the law office, I mean, I can answer the phones. I can take a payment. I can, at the bar, I do everything when I'm there. I mean, I'm bussing, I'm serving drinks. So I'm a big believer in being able to do any role in your business. So yeah, of course, I think that's absolutely necessary. That's why it's a little bit frustrating to me when people think that I don't have experience or I don't know what I'm doing, like, in the industry. Like, I've done it all. I do it all. So yeah, I that's not a bad idea at all. I mean, you should understand what the busboy does, what the server does,
or even if you like the business or not. What if you want to open a pawn store, right? Like, is it a good idea to, but before I invest my money, because I don't know anything about it, is it a good idea to, I'm gonna start working here for a little bit?
Yeah, and you've got to like it too. Yeah, like, what if you don't like it? Andale. I mean, that sucks.
What if you see that the margins are not there, right? Or how difficult it is to attract customers, or I mean, there's so many other factors. The people, how difficult it is to get waitress. From what I gather, bartenders, for example, there's so many bars, right? And the demand for someone good looking. I don't think your profile of the bar is like for good looking females, right? I don't know if it is. Maybe you do. Pero digo, I wouldn't open that type of bar because of the competition. So I kind of want to get my hands dirty to be like, let's get this business really hard. And it is money, but it's not worth my time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Si me ven ahí en un bar acá, I have no problem, like, starting from, like people don't know the story. Like, imagine if you were to see me as a bartender. Ahorita, like, I know you don't follow me on social media, you don't know anything about me. But some people say, like, without knowing nothing, like, oh, what happened with this guy? Now it's a waiter, like.
But it's not like they're not bad jobs.
No, yeah.
They're that's another like thing with perspective too. Like, you can change the perspective by bartending. So there you go.
Yeah, like the best the funnest is that a word? The most fun job that I have ever had has been a waiter. I was a waiter like for 4 years back when I was 16. That was the best job ever.
Everybody should work in the service industry at some point.
Yeah. But bueno, it's been already 2 hours. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let me ask you my last questions.
Okay.
Just to recap, what brings you most joy of everything you do? I know if you want to say your family, of course, that's valid. But what brings you most joy? I don't know, maybe it's a combination of everything. Like, hey, this, but in your perspective, looking back, ¿sabes qué? I really enjoy this. What would it be?
You mean like professionally or like just anything?
How about both?
So just like overall, I think I get a lot of joy being around my family. So like when we can just relax and have fun. Like we went to dinner for my birthday and it was just like
when
really
was your
nice.
Birthday? I know it was
the 12th, February 12th.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm a brat and I celebrate for like a week at least. But yeah, we went to dinner. So just being around my family and just like, you know, having fun. I get a lot of joy from that. Professionally, being able to help people. And I think that's really important too, to be successful. Like, I think you have to ultimately be in service of others. And so, yeah, being able to help people.
And I get it. And I had this discussion with so many people, even friends, that once you get to a level that you feel fulfilled or happy, you know what's next? You want to share it. You do find joy helping somebody else. Mm-hmm. And for that person to say, hey, this helped me.
Yeah, and it's really great too when like my employees tell me I look up to you, or, you know, I admire you, and people kind of look up to that doing your own thing, building your own business and being successful, like that brings me a lot of joy too. Nice.
Perfect. Thank you. What are your future goals, plans? Talk to us about where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years, maybe 23 years? Not take us, but talk to us about your future, what you want.
I want to probably semi-retire in about 1.5 to 2 years.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Tina's going to start her medical rotations in about 1.5 years. So we probably will have to leave El Paso. So when that happens, I'd like to be able to kind of semi-retire and travel back and forth.
Ooh, an opportunity to sell your bar.
Well, the goal is hopefully to be able to like kind of be in and out, you know, with both businesses. And then I want to live in Italy. That's my goal. Like I want to have
Where exactly?
a house. I would really like to be probably somewhere along the Amalfi Coast. Yeah.
Is that north or south?
Like south of Rome.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But kind of like north.
But still in the middle, right, of Italy?
A little bit in the middle, yeah. I want a house like on the beach by the water. Yeah. That's like 5-6 year goal.
Which is not that long.
No.
What active steps are you taking to achieve that? Saving, looking around, manifesting, I know that for sure. Mm-hmm. But what are some active things you're doing to reach your goal?
A lot of manifesting. Yeah. And also kind of long-term planning. And that was, I think, part of getting healthy mentally and like kind of breaking those cycles, you know, of being in that same kind of mind frame and life cycles. And that kind of ties into all of that. So I think all of that was kind of part of like long-term planning, to be able to be at that place, and kind of setting up my businesses so that
it's set up that
it's
way.
Feasible. Yeah.
How long have you been with your partner? I know you married her 2018, if my stalking is correct.
Gosh. 2017, I think
okay,
we got married.
close.
We met in 2012.
Oh, okay. There you go. That was my question. How long and how cool it is to, you know, I don't know your wife at all, but to share a goal. I'm going to send you that podcast because it talks about relationships.
Please do. Yeah, I want to hear
it. It's something else. But
it's super important. Like your partner in life is super important.
Yeah.
And you have to be on the same level and you have to be just as ambitious as each other. And, you know, she's going to start working and I'm going to retire. So, but yeah, it's cool that we both have goals, you know, and that we're our own people and doing our own thing, but then at the same time, like supporting each other in that. So yeah,
that's so cool. And it sounds like you guys have been, I'm sure that also yourself, you have supported her in so many different ways. And it's so cool to hear that. And then when you hear that dynamic or what the goal, like normally there is a common trend. There is something out there to learn, like, okay, I get it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to send you the podcast so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool.
Pero bueno, my last question. This is something that if it is true that you will have seen some of my episodes, hopefully you've seen them towards the end. There is the last question, which is, what is one thing you like or love about El Paso? And what is one thing that you will change or improve about our city?
One of the things I think El Paso is really unique because of being a border city. I think we have a very unique perspective. I think it does make us very empathetic to other people that other cities aren't necessarily, because we're not as exposed to they're not exposed to as much stuff as we are here, being a border city. So that's one of the things. And the food. We have a lot of good food. One thing that I don't like is that mentality of scarcity. I feel like a lot of people are very like hate on each other instead of supporting each other, lifting each other up. And I don't like that. I think it's like a cultural thing in El Paso. I don't know if it's like a Mexican thing or an El Paso thing, but I feel like a lot of people live from the scarcity mindset.
Can you expand on that? Because I agree with you, but just expand in what ways? Give me, if possible, some examples, because I 100% agree with you.
Well, it was like you were saying, like hating on people, like in the J Balvin concert, being like, oh, well, these people, or whoever, Bad Bunny. Oh, it was Bad Bunny? Yeah. It was, yeah.
Do you like Bad Bunny?
Yeah, I like Bad Bunny.
Not that much, then.
I like Bad Bunny, but I mean, I wouldn't.
How much would you pay for his concert?
Not that much. But I've seen him in concert.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like how you were saying, like people commenting like, oh, these people paying all these money. What's wrong with these people? Like, who cares? You know. Like that type of thing, and like the comments on the account that you were talking about, like all of that hating on each other.
What's your take? And hopefully I'm not going the wrong route here. What's your take on our city manager getting $500,000 per year?
You wanted to dive like into politics?
No, it's because you're saying this, and I think you already know my take on it. But it kind of goes back to that. Perhaps it's okay, and here I'm gonna give you here. I'm gonna save you from answering this. But perhaps you can say that, you know what, I don't like his work so far. Like, I don't think that I don't like it. But to just because it's $500,000 or 400,000, whatever it is, to say that, oh, like people think that if we take a chunk of his money, then he's gonna put it in whatever, in your opinion, we need, doesn't work that way. And then if they really understand, because you do see the bad things, but do you also see the positive things? Do you agree that El Paso has grown? And if it has, what percentage do you give to this guy? Like, again, show empathy. Perhaps if you say, this guy has not to whatever it is, but have the empathy to also understand that if we want to think big, that, hey, it's just not a small city. Okay, there's some stuff to that. What is one stuff? Hiring someone that has a proven track record, or at least that we can hold accountable, or this guy, when Tommy, when I had him on, he said about other offers that he had from other cities as well, you know. And again, if we want someone competitive, my take is like, espérame, like, have your opinion before or after showing empathy and understanding a little bit of both sides. But a lot of times you just hear that number, no, te está robando, es un ratero. Okay, all right.
I don't mind that we pay that to somebody in that position to be competitive. Like, I do agree with you that I think it's important. I don't know if I necessarily think that what he's done is justified that amount.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't mind that amount. I just don't think that he's proven that he's worth that, you know?
And a lot of people don't understand, and you being law, you do understand that, hey, wait, there is the city that negotiated the contract. This is what this guy has. And there's in no way that we can, like, tackle this person for, I will be doing the same thing because, hey, you sabes que this is what I have done. And there's so many different aspects, but at least the only thing I, again, would like is for people to just look at what's going on.
I mean, it's a really high salary for El Paso. It's a really high salary for living in El Paso, and I think that you need to justify that and really be doing a lot to deserve it. And I don't know if I would say 100%.
In your opinion, you think that the growth hasn't, like, matched basically his salary? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Digo, no pasa nada. Like, it is a discussion.
Yeah,
Digo, and
I think you have to do a lot to earn that salary in this city, and I just don't think that. Yeah, I think there's just a lot more that could be done.
Okay, deja tú. That is something, especially you that you're educated, that you understand, that you're very involved with the city, what the changes are. But if that is the case, I also would understand that. Espérame, there was a contract that it was not by him, but it was approved by different people there, and also that the way that this person gets evaluated on a yearly basis, and it was them that. Different from your opinion, like, no, they did say that. So it is worth it. So, like, in this case, it wouldn't be Tommy. In this case, it would just, hey, espérame, I don't agree with your assessment on how good you think that maybe he did. And then there's a different topic, but at least not that of hating just because it's a high number or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Pero bueno, did I steal your thunder from what you would like to change or improve from El Paso? Is that it?
Nope, that's it.
Sorry, Cynthia, but I'm passionate about that porque, digo, especially because they put me on, and on mi cara, like they put like a clip of a video that I put on YouTube, and on that whole clip, I was like, ¿sabes qué? If this guy's worth, like, pay him $1 million, like if they go for it. But ¿qué crees que pusieron? Like 30 seconds of me just asking him, and then mi cara de, I was like, this guy did me wrong. So there's something personal there. Deja todo, se lo mandé a mi niña. They did you dirty, Dad. And I'm like, it's okay. But you know what happened after? No pasa nada. Like, a lot of people like, you know, who cares?
Hey, any press is good press, right?
Deja tú, Chelsea me manda un screenshot. Hey, you're famous now. Like a month later. Like, yeah, but now how famous I want to be. All right, Cynthia, what else are we missing? More than 2 hours. I think this is the second longest, or maybe the longest after Monica's episode.
No, I think
Anything else that we're missing?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I know you're busy. Everyone's busy, and I really value time. And the things that you share, I think they're going to help someone. And whoever watched or listened the entire thing, gracias. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you for doing this too, because I think what you do is so important to highlight El Paso and the positivity going on here.
Thank you so
Unlike
much.
other
okay,
places you said.
That you said? You
said.
Okay. That's all I have, guys. Thank you so much. Adios.